is fake is the age-old debate when it comes to alien footage, and today I'm here to fuel those fires. Question for y'all, what criteria do you consider necessary to believe a clip of alien or UFO unknowns is real? Let me know in the comments, and let's see if anything from today could be. Alrighty, we're gonna kick it off with a video of aliens invading a bedroom. David Eckhart from Pensacola, Florida had a CCTV camera mounted above his bed and was stunned when watching footage back to see the creature of some sorts appear in his doorway one night as he was just lying down a couple of feet away. So, if we're looking at the video, a small alien-like figure appears to poke its head around a corner and can be seen almost full length against the backdrop of the yellow-tinted light shining from outside the room. It looked only a few inches in diameter, about 2 to 3 feet tall, and apparently this wasn't the first time David and his family were visited by unknown beings. The footage is from 2006 and came to light in an episode of the Sky History TV series called The Proof Is Out There, with the show suggesting the humanoid has similar specifications to that of a gray alien. We all know what gray aliens are, and the shape of its head and its long skinny legs are consistent with the type. According to experts, the encounters have gone on for at least 10 years and were experienced by David and all of his family at both of their residences in Pensacola, Florida. Over that time, David has described many of the scenarios he witnessed well under the control of his captors, including human experimentation and disposal, which is not uncommon for alien abductions. He has claimed that he's been taken to the reptilian underground bases many times. He's also witnessed reptilians and other entities enter into his house through a portal entry. Also, he's been taken through said portal to what he feels like is a Stargate. He's also been taken to the moon, and then another place, which had a tropical environment where he encountered frog-like humanoids. The video in question today was produced from 2 full frames and parts of the preceding and latter frames and then looped in slow motion, so these beings can move in and out at remarkable speeds. No CGI or reconstruction techniques were used, just splicing of the frames to make the video. David has spoken about his various experiences on a number of podcasts and platforms over the years and remains convinced of their authenticity. His wife Jean said, "I don't know what they were. Best way I can describe them is in the movie Predator. Sparkles in the air, you could see silhouettes." She added that the aliens had been visiting them for a while and feels the visits began prior to them moving into the house. David added that you can touch them when they're in a transparent state and it feels like wet static electricity. When he was asked if he was certain his claims were not part of a hoax, he said, "Absolutely. I would put my hand on the Bible. I was just trying to investigate everything I did. I believed in everything that happened." Back in January of this year, a video of an allegedly unidentified anomalous phenomenon known as UAPs, more common term for UFOs, resembling a jellyfish, had skywatchers, pilots, and experts wondering what the heck it was. The buzz was so big, the Pentagon responded, and the response, or lack thereof, only fueled further speculation. The video in question was released by investigative journalist Jeremy Corbell, a prominent figure in the UFO community known for his work in investigations into UAPs and UFOs. Corbell says military pilots got the footage over a US Joint Operations base in Iraq around 2018, and according to him, the object was officially designated to be a UAP by the Pentagon, and the footage was taken with thermographic/forward-looking infrared radar. The official Department of Defense, DoD for short, spokesperson Sue Gao stated, "We do not comment on the authenticity of alleged DoD material that may have been leaked." Despite this, she emphasized the DoD's commitment to openness and accountability while balancing the necessity to protect sensitive information, leaving a lot of folks to wonder about the apparent contradiction. Corbell said the reason why they're not at this point able to deny it is because absolutely they're going to have to confirm it. He emphasized his and journalist George Knapp's 3.5-year effort to develop sources and verify the leaked material, saying, "We have done our due diligence and our DoD will be put in the corner. They have to be honest with the American public on this video." On the other hand, Michael Sinkowski, I could not find a pronunciation, a Marine who spoke with News Nation, was an intelligence surveillance tactical controller at the base in Iraq at the time and said he was shown the full video and soldiers didn't know what to make of it. He said the video was taken from an aerostat, which is an intelligence surveillance balloon that looks like a blimp, and it was flying over the base. So it turns out it has cameras on it to keep a lookout for threats. Back to Corbell, he said additional footage of the Jellyfish UAP exists, and there's a lot more videos related to the incidents. The direct quote says, "There are more videos, you're not seeing it. I'm going to be able to tell inside of the right facility exactly where our Senate Intelligence Committee can find the rest of the videos." Apparently, the extended footage is approximately 30 minutes long and allegedly shows the UFO's trans-medium capability, its abrupt descent into the water for 17 minutes, and its rapid departure. I know the whole internet would like to see that video someday. Alien enthusiasts were in a state of frenzy be when the conspiracy theory YouTube channel Mavi777 released an eerie video showing a strange creature walking in the Canadian woods. The YouTube channel reveals that the spooky clip was captured on July 29th of 2018 by a local resident. The video description reads as follows: "I was filming a moose on a roadside in Gaspésia, Quebec, Canada. Looking at the video, I saw this strange shape at the back left. Can someone tell me what it is?" At the first glance, the strange creature spotted in the video seems very similar to the alien beings we have seen in movies like Mars Attack. The alleged alien tried to hide in the woods after noticing that a camera spotlight was on it, and there was also a moose standing nearby, and the alien being seems to be trying to attack it once it gets a chance. The video obviously went viral online, and viewers started putting forward various theories explaining the eerie sighting. Most of the viewers argued that the object spotted in the video might be reptilian aliens who are indirectly controlling the world with the help of the elites. Now, according to that theory, a lot of the elite personalities in the world are actually shape-shifting reptilian aliens, something we've talked about on here before, and now they are slowly gearing up for who knows what. According to a quote we have, it looked like the thing wanted to attack the moose but didn't want to be seen, as if it was getting impatient because, well, there's a human sitting there and the moose went back to the woods. Someone needs to put all this through a video editor and see if they can improve the visuals around that thing. So that comment was made by the user Sketcher. No, not the shoes, just somebody out there. This next video is one that might raise some questions. It showed up on YouTube in 2011 as part of a collection of leaked videos that demonstrate an alien being interrogated by some unknown government agency. It is a typical gray type alien entity, shown being interviewed and examined, supposedly as some part of diplomatic exchange. And here's the moment you've been waiting for. He says he's from the Zeta Reticuli star system, sent as part of an envoy to discuss matters of mutual concern. As of September of 2019, no extrasolar planets have been found in that system, according to government experts. That's what the government's saying. We don't know if that's the truth. So for the uninitiated, what the heck is Zeta Reticuli? It is a wide binary star system in the southern constellation of Reticulum. From the southern hemisphere, the pair can be seen with the naked eye as a double star in the very dark skies. Based upon parallax measurements, this system is located at a distance of almost 39.3 light years from Earth. Both stars are solar analogs that have characteristics similar to those of the Sun and belong to the Zeta Herculis moving group of stars that share a common origin. So what does this have to do with this little alien? Well, according to the videos, the aliens are from that star system, and they would be escorted by special officers and only meet with high-ranking officials here on Earth. Although several aliens are claimed to have been present, the one most prominently featured was given the nickname Skinny Bob, becoming an internet legend. The alien appears as a very thin, slouched-over figure with an oversized bald head, slit-like mouth, large eyes that seem expressive and blank, and claw-like hands. There was apparently a whole series of interviews conducted with the creature between 1942 and 1969, although only a few clips have managed to get leaked out. The most well-known clip simply shows Skinny Bob sitting at a table during a telepathic interview, after which we see footage of the alien from head to toe, showing its disproportionately long arms and overall build. After that, there is a moment seen of it within a pool of some sort of liquid where it would sleep, and according to the videos, the aliens were often filmed without their knowledge or agreement, with document 072E supposedly describing an incident in 1961 when three of the beings realized that they were being secretly filmed by a hidden device, which was a violation of their agreement. There was a treaty that stipulated that photographs and filming of these gray aliens would not be allowed unless specific permission was given. The diplomatic exchange of it all matches up with what folks know about Area 51 being a secret place for meetings and more. The video has also been presented as alleged leaked footage from the KGB, but that remains unconfirmed. And for our final footage today, we're going back to 1995. Ray Santilli, a London-based entrepreneur, released footage of an alien autopsy performed in Roswell in 1947. Experts immediately ridiculed the footage as a hoax, and yes, Ray did admit years later that it was almost entirely fake, but apparently the real footage does exist. He said that in 1993 or 1994, he personally saw footage of the autopsy in its original form and brought it back with him to the UK. But within a year, most of the footage had completely deteriorated. The only thing that was left was a few frames that were used as reference and were restored. They were apparently restored over a very long period of time, and that's what he wanted to do. Just restore what was a very damaged film. Seeing as most of the footage that we know about that has anything to do with Area 51, Roswell, or aliens tends to get redacted, destroyed, or heavily censored, I believe this. Alright, let's kick off today with the obvious, and remember those aliens that were spotted a couple of months ago? Yes, because if we didn't have enough craziness to worry about in 2024, may I offer you 10-foot tall creatures of the unknown? Here's the thing, anything over 7 feet tall is already terrifying to me personally. Ditto for aliens on their own, no matter what they look like. Combine the two, eat! My worst nightmare. We've got a video. Lucky us. It shows two human-like creatures on top of a hill at an island in Brazil, and it got a heck of a lot of traction on social media. According to a New York Post report, the beings were 10 foot tall and spotted at Ilha do Mel, an island more than 3 kilometers off the coast of southeast Brazil. It is a favorite spot for environmentally conscious travelers and beach lovers, and it's celebrated for its varied ecosystems. Spanning a simple little 5 kilometers in length, 800 meters in width, the island presents a scenic mosaic of natural marvels. So we've got one creature, and then we've got another one. The outlet's like, they're here, and their appearance on the hilltop, it caused a lot of chitter chatter. You can see the creatures. They stand confidently on top of the hill, which, according to locals, it's hard to get there, and the shrubbery barely reaches their knees. As you see them walk, you can see them swinging their arms in a human-like manner, but like not enough to convince anybody, you know what I mean? Now, when I watched the video, we've got a witness that was like, it's just too big to be a person. Look at the way he moves, it's really weird. Look at that, it's very fast. For me, it's just enough to see the speed with which this creature goes down a hill. Like, anybody who's done trails on hills knows that you don't go down a hill in 1 to 2 minutes. And this was according to an Instagram user. Somebody else was like, the way they move reminds me a lot of the Men in Black. And I agree with this next one. One thing I do know, I will never step foot there again. Or for me, forever. Even the Brazilian government was like, yeah, no, we're not quite sure what they are. I believe they said on Twitter, surreal what happened on Ilha do Mel. Great summer at Paran is another story, and even strange beings came to check it out. Which, alright, I don't know. I feel like it's another government cover-up, and I feel like I'm about to say that a lot today, because, hi, there hasn't really been anything else in the news. Before we talk more about aliens, how about we touch on some black hole discoveries? Well, I didn't say today was going to be all aliens. 2 teams using NASA's James Webb Space Telescope have studied the exceptionally luminous galaxy titled GN-Z11, which we're going to call it GN for short, and this thing only existed when our 13.8 billion year old universe was only about 430 million years old, so just a little one. This galaxy is one of the youngest and most distant ever observed. And also, with it being so bright, it's kind of challenging for scientists to understand why. But we're getting some secrets now. We're peeling back the covers. The team found the first clear evidence that the galaxy is hosting a central supermassive black hole that is rapidly accumulating matter. This finding makes this the farthest active supermassive black hole spotted to date. We've got a quote from the principal investigator, Roberto Maiolino. He said, "We found extremely dense gas that is common in the vicinity of the supermassive black holes accreting gas," which I know. Kind of redundant, but I like a direct quote. He is of the Cavendish Laboratory and the Kavli Institute of Cosmology at the University of Cambridge in the UK. Yes, that's a lot of words, I know. Using this lovely telescope, the team also found indications of ionized chemical elements typically observed near accreting supermassive black holes. So, more evidence. Also, they discovered a super powerful wind being expelled by the galaxy, and such high velocity winds are typically driven by processes associated with vigorously accreting supermassive black holes. I know, I'm saying it again and again, but it's so cool! Together, the evidence shows that GN hosts a 2 million solar mass, supermassive black hole in a very active phase of consuming matter, which is why it's so luminous. Now, come in Team 2, also led by Maiolino, used the near-infrared spectrograph, or NIRSPEC for short, to find a gaseous clump of helium in the halo surrounding GN. Now, according to experts, the fact that we don't see anything beyond helium suggests that this clump must be fairly pristine. Finding the never-before-seen population 3 stars, which are the first generation of stars formed almost entirely from hydrogen and helium, is one of the most important goals of modern astrophysics. These stars are anticipated to be very massive, very luminous, and very hot, and their expected signature is the presence of ionized helium and the absence of chemical elements heavier than helium. The formation of the first stars and galaxies marks a fundamental shift in cosmic history, during which the universe evolved from a dark and relatively simple state into the highly structured and complex environment we see today. Look, if you don't find that cool, come on! Okay, before I forget, we have another former government whistleblower that I don't think I've talked about on here before. So when Sean Kirkpatrick worked in the Pentagon as the top official overseeing the tracking of UFOs, he told his leadership that the department wasn't telling the public enough about the mysterious aircrafts or the government's efforts to investigate them. By the way, sorry, I totally forgot. Kirkpatrick served from July of 2022 until December of last year as the first ever director of the Pentagon office dedicated to investigating reports of UFOs. So, Sean knows what he's talking about. He also mentioned in interviews that his former boss, Deputy Secretary Kathleen Hicks, was supportive of his efforts as UFO chief, but his attempts to engage the media always met internal resistance in the staffing process. He only did 2 on-camera interviews during his 18 months in office. Yes, he also conducted 2 print interviews, including with Politico, which, don't worry, we'll talk about more, and a couple of off-camera media briefings, but not a lot. There was a very strong concern to engage in the public discourse as often as he thought they needed to, and the fact that the Pentagon leadership couldn't couldn't figure out how to get that message without concern for spillage into other areas, it kind of frustrated Sean. Now, he made those comments after Politico reached out for a response to a Defense Department Inspector General report back in January, which concluded the Pentagon's efforts to identify UFOs, and it said what? Well, they're uncoordinated, and they could have overlooked threats to the US. Also, fun little plot twist here, Eric Pahan, a Pentagon spokesperson, disputed the claim that the department declined the UFO chief's media request. I don't know, I'm smelling a cover-up. Do y'all remember the Miami Mall aliens? Good old malls, usually home to rugrats, senior walking groups, and the most annoying families you will ever encounter. Trust me, I used to work retail at a fairly large mall. I don't like going to them unless I've got my headphones on. But apparently on the first day of this 2024 year, the Miami Mall, over in Florida, might just have been home to something a little more out of this world. I know. Come on, Alexa, get to the official story. Apparently, a group of roughly 50 youths caused a riot at the Bayside Marketplace, which is an outdoor mall roughly 5 miles away from South Beach. This is all according to the Miami Police Department, by the way. They were setting off fireworks, which led to quite the panic, as a lot of folks were like, this could be worse. And the statement also came from the public information officer, Michael Vega. At this point, 4 folks were arrested. Police were dispatched for crowd control because, well, people didn't want to leave, people were panicking, they closed businesses because yikes. But here's the thing, some people spotted aliens. Now obviously the police are saying there was no aliens, no airports were closed, nothing's being withheld from the public. LOL. I don't know, folks. That's what people in power always say. I believe that statement as far as I can throw it. So in the days after the first, folks on social media launched a speculation frenzy, honing in on what they described as aliens. Some suggested that the police were actually responding to like an alien invasion, an alien visit, and not youths. Several people reviewed video of the incident circulating online and claimed they could see an alien figure in the grainy footage. And then everybody else was like, let's post a meme. To quote a post I saw on the app formerly known as Twitter, it said, 10-foot aliens creatures caught on camera, fired at inside and outside Miami Mall, media silent, cops are covering it up, saying young people were fighting with fireworks, yet all these cop cars and air traffic stops that night except for black military choppers and no media coverage. Wow, I feel like I'm getting a nasty case of deja vu. Anybody else? Clips taken from the viral video went, well, even more viral on social media, claiming that 8 to 10 foot tall alien creatures were seen. Now, the low quality clip appears to show a tall glowing figure near police vehicles. Look, I've seen videos that were less likely to be aliens turn out to be worth something in terms of being the genuine article, so I'm not dismissing it. Here's an idea, chew on this. What if every Florida man photo or meme was just an alien trying to blend in here on Earth and failing? Chew on that. And finally, for today, let's go back to last month. I believe it was during the weekend of March 9th and 10th, where Rock Springs city attorney and longtime UFO investigator Richard Beckwith spotted something kind of strange in the Wyoming sky. He called it unlike anything else he had ever seen in his career. Thankfully for us, he captured the event on camera. He was like, I've never seen a UFO before I made this recording. So we do have the footage. I'd like you folks to watch it. And to me, it looks like a mix of yellowish, reddish, and orange spacecrafts that are all flying together and they're all radiating lights. They're definitely flying in a way that doesn't make any logical sense when you consider human technology for aircrafts, unless the military wants to fess up right now about any tech they haven't told us about yet, and I'm including drones in my comparison. I've seen enough of the amateur and professional models of those little devices in action to know that this isn't that. So late in the evening on March 9th, Beckwith received a call from a friend who lives near Green River, which is about 15 miles southwest of Rock Springs. He grabbed his camera, his tripod, and what he witnessed was quite a shock. He watched the object pulsate. It was moving very rapidly from side to side. Now, he isn't trying to prove the object was an alien spacecraft, he just wants an answer. Look, I know what I'm seeing. It looks like an alien spacecraft. He was like, I've received a couple of leads, but I don't have any evidence. He has requested radar records from the FAA, and he's contacted other witnesses. He's like, maybe gathering all this information is gonna help me find a reasonable explanation, or maybe determine if it truly is a UFO. So we do have a quote from him. He said, using the locations of 2 different groups of witnesses, including myself, the angle and the distance between the 2, and trigonometry, I should be able to pretty easily determine the location and get a good estimate of the size of the object. But as of the time of that quote, he had no idea what it was. Math ain't my strong suit, so I'm gonna trust him on that. Last I heard, he's still hunting. I wish him luck getting those radar records, because not gonna be easy. He's also been pleading for anybody with more information to email him, and I bet by now, he's probably regretting that.
Wyoming UFO incident of 1974 is one of Mexico's most mysterious and captivating encounters, sparking speculation and intrigue ever since details began to surface. On August 25th, 1974, in the desert near the town of Wyoming, a routine Mexican military patrol stumbled upon something far from ordinary. As the convoy moved through the remote area along the US-Mexico border, they spotted spotted several UFOs in the sky, with one appearing to malfunction and descend rapidly. Deciding to investigate, a helicopter crew approached the mysterious craft. The UFO allegedly emitted a powerful burst of energy, causing the military helicopter to crash. The aftermath remains elusive, with much of the event kept classified by the Mexican government for years. Only in the 1990s did details begin to emerge thanks to dedicated UFO researchers. While some believe the incident involved advanced experimental aircraft, others are convinced it was an encounter with extraterrestrial technology. The lack of concrete evidence and the secrecy surrounding the event have only fueled more questions, making the Wyoming UFO incident a key piece of Mexico's mysterious alien history that suggests we may not be alone. One of the most compelling cases for alien encounters in Mexico comes from the Mexican military UFO incident of 2004. This was where the Mexican Air Force found themselves face to face with the unknown. During a routine drug surveillance operation in the skies over Campeche, military pilots captured something extraordinary on their infrared cameras: unidentified flying objects, glowing orbs that moved in perfect synchronization. These mysterious objects weren't just random lights, they moved intelligently at speeds and in patterns that defied conventional explanations. The incident quickly gained attention because it wasn't just civilians making claims, this was the military, professionals trained to spot aircrafts and threats. What makes this case even more significant is that the Mexican government didn't bury the footage or keep it classified. Instead, they released it to the public, sparking debates and fueling speculation worldwide. For many UFO enthusiasts and UFOologists, this was groundbreaking. Military acknowledgement of something otherworldly in the skies. Some believe these orbs were advanced alien crafts monitoring Earth's military operations, while others suggest they could be extraterrestrial drones sent to gather information. The footage, with its undeniable authenticity, continues to be analyzed and discussed, marking it as one of Mexico's most credible and fascinating UFO encounters. For those searching for proof that extraterrestrial beings are watching us, the 2004 military UFO encounter stands as a shining example that something beyond our understanding may be at play in the skies above Mexico. One of the earliest recorded instances of a potential UFO sighting in Mexico dates back to August 12th, 1883, when astronomer Jose Bonilla made a startling observation while studying sunspot activity at the Zacatecas Observatory. As he trained his telescope on the sun, Bonilla reported seeing over 300 dark, unidentified objects passing in front of it. In an attempt to document this strange event, he captured a series of wet plate photographs with a quick 1/100th second exposure, marking what many consider to be the first ever photograph of an unidentified flying object. At the time, Bonilla couldn't explain what he had witnessed, and his observations baffled the scientific community. While later analysis suggested that these objects may have been high-flying geese, Bonilla's sighting has remained shrouded in mystery. Some UFO researchers believe that the photographs may have captured alien spacecraft or some kind of extraterrestrial phenomenon rather than a natural event. Though the true nature of these objects remains debated, Bonilla's observation has earned a place in UFO lore as one of the earliest documented encounters with something unexplainable in the skies. Whether they were geese or otherworldly visitors, this work still fascinates those who believe that extraterrestrial life has been watching us for much longer than we may realize, making his sighting a key moment in the history of alien discoveries in Mexico. In 2013, archaeologists made a fascinating discovery beneath the ancient city of Teotihuacan, one of Mexico's most mysterious and iconic archaeological sites. While excavating an underground tunnel beneath the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, researchers uncovered hundreds of strange metallic spheres. These orbs, coated in pyrite, often referred to as fool's gold, shimmered with a golden metallic sheen, sparking immediate intrigue. Although the spheres were found in a sacred and ceremonial space, their purpose remains unknown, leaving much to speculation. The discovery quickly caught the attention of UFO theorists and alien enthusiasts. Due to their unusual properties and very advanced craftsmanship, some believe these spheres are not of human origin, suggesting that they could be remnants of extraterrestrial technology. The fact that Teotihuacan was once a highly advanced and mysterious civilization only fuels these theories. Some propose that these metallic spheres might have served a purpose far beyond what ancient humans could have understood, possibly connected to alien influence or ancient visitors from another world. Could these spheres be evidence of extraterrestrial beings interacting with ancient Mexican civilizations? For those convinced that aliens walked among us in the past, Teotihuacan's alien metal discovery stands as a compelling clue that something otherworldly was at play in shaping ancient Mexico. The Zone of Silence, or La Zona del Silencio, is a mysterious stretch of desert located in the northern Mexican state of Durango, often likened to the Bermuda Triangle for its eerie and unexplained phenomena. The region gained notoriety for its peculiar electromagnetic anomalies. Radio signals vanish, compasses spin erratically, and airplanes flying overhead have reported strange interference with their instruments. Some even call it a dead zone because of the way technology fails without reason. The area's magnetic forces are so intense that scientists have come to study the strange properties of the region, yet a definitive explanation remains elusive. What makes the Zone of Silence even more intriguing is the widespread belief that it is a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity. Locals have reported strange glowing lights in the night sky, often hovering silently or darting across the horizon before disappearing without a trace. Even more unnerving are stories of humanoid figures seen wandering the desert, sometimes described as tall beings with an otherworldly presence. Some witnesses claim to have encountered these beings directly, describing telepathic communication or odd encounters where these figures seem to vanish into thin air. Adding to the zone's allure is the theory that it may have connections to extraterrestrial portals or bases. UFO enthusiasts suggest that the strange electromagnetic fields in the area could create a vortex or a gateway for alien crafts to travel through. These claims are bolstered by the discovery of unusual meteorite debris in the region, with the most notable being the Allende meteorite, which fell nearby in 1969. Some believe that these space rocks may be carrying more than just cosmic dust, potentially hinting at alien technology or ancient visitors from the stars. Many ranchers and residents tell tales of unexplained disappearances, mysterious sounds in the desert at night, and animals behaving erratically within the zone's boundaries. These stories, coupled with scientific curiosity and a lack of clear answers, have made the Zone of Silence one of Mexico's most enduring mysteries. Whether it's a natural anomaly or a hub for extraterrestrial activity, the zone continues to captivate scientists, adventurers, and UFO hunters, leaving many to wonder if this desert holds proof that we are not alone in the universe.
Alrighty, how about we start today with the obvious, the Mesopotamians. This region nestled between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers has been a canvas for human history's earliest strokes. In the labyrinth of ancient myths and chronicles, there lies a narrative whispered across millennia, a tale suggesting that the Mesopotamians, architects of ziggurats and compilers of cuneiform tablets, might have had encounters with extraterrestrial beings. Amidst the clay tablets etched with the great tales of kings and gods, some narratives stand out like cosmic anomalies, challenging the conventional understanding of ancient civilizations. In the hallowed halls of Sumerian lore, the tale of the Anunnaki Anunnaki emerges, an otherworldly presence said to have descended from the heavens, forging a symbiotic relationship with humanity. These ancient astronauts, as the narrative goes, bestowed upon humanity the gifts of knowledge and civilization. The Sumerian creation myth, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and other fragments of Mesopotamian literature echo with hints of divine beings descending from the celestial expanse to commune with earthly inhabitants. The Temple of Eridu, a sacred site in ancient Mesopotamia, becomes a cosmic stage where the gods supposedly landed. The ziggurats, architectural marvels reaching for the heavens, are often implicated as communication hubs with extraterrestrial entities. The intricate carvings on cylinder seals depict beings in winged attire, suggestive of an otherworldly connection. The lines between myth and history kind of blur in the clay tablets, as narratives speak of gods who descended, of celestial chariots that traverse the skies. Could these stories be metaphors, poetic renditions of natural phenomena, or did they harbor a little kernel of truth, cryptic message etched by ancient witnesses to celestial phenomena beyond their comprehension? In the epic tale of Enuma, the Babylonian creation myth, the cosmos itself becomes a stage where primordial deities clash, setting the stage for the emergence of the earthly realm. The mingling of divine and cosmic forces in Mesopotamian narratives invokes the possibility that the ancients perceived their gods as denizens of the cosmic tapestry. So as we navigate the murky waters of ancient Mesopotamian cosmology, the question lingers: did the Mesopotamians, with their keen observations of the night sky, their ziggurats reaching for the stars, truly believe in extraterrestrial entities weaving through the celestial currents? Or were these narratives symbolic expressions, poetic metaphors woven into the fabric of cultural identity? So in the clay tablets and the crumbling ruins of Mesopotamia, the whispers of ancient civilizations beckon us to consider the possibility that maybe contact with extraterrestrial beings was an integral part of the tapestry of human origins. The Mesopotamians, stewards of the earliest embers of civilization, may have gazed skyward, pondering the enigma of the cosmos and crafting tales that echo through the corridors of time. Next up, it's time for this gal to consult my Greek mythology book from university. Within the rich history of ancient Greece, where the foundations of philosophy, democracy, and mythology were laid, there persists a subtle undercurrent of speculation, an underbelly to the grand tapestry of gods and heroes. In the echo of Homeric hymns and the whispers of Plato's dialogues, some scholars dare to entertain the notion that Greeks, in their pursuit of wisdom, might have had encounters with those not of this earth. Venturing into the corridors of Greek mythology, one encounters tales woven around the pantheon of Olympian gods Zeus, Hera, Athena, and everybody else. If I were going to name everybody, I'd be here all day. These divine entities, with their celestial abode atop Mount Olympus, were revered as architects of the cosmos, shapers of fate, and sculptors of mortal destinies. But beneath these grand narratives, there are fragments, like stardust scattered across the heavens, that hint at encounters beyond the earthly realm. Consider the myth of Ganymede, a Trojan prince abducted by Zeus in the form of an eagle. Now, if I got the name wrong, I apologize. Looking for a pronunciation? Couldn't find one. This tale, superficially about divine courtship, raises intriguing questions. Was this a simple myth, or could it be a symbolic retelling of a celestial visitation? This Trojan prince ascended to the heavens, serving nectar to the gods. Could it be an allegory for an encounter with beings not of this world? In the timeless prose of Plato, the dialogue known as Timaeus unfolds, revealing a discourse on the origins of the cosmos and the nature of the divine. Plato introduces the concept of the demiurge, a cosmic craftsman shaping the world according to eternal forms. Could the demiurge be an allegory for extraterrestrial architects fashioning the cosmic order? In the Symposium, Plato alludes to the mysterious natures of love, introducing the myth of Aristophanes, who speaks of humans once being fused entities split in two by the gods. A fanciful tale, perhaps, but one that sparks speculation. Could this division, this cosmic surgery, be a metaphor for a profound encounter with beings from not of this earth? Moving beyond mythology, consider the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek analog computer discovered in the depths of the sea. A marvel of engineering, its complexity suggests a level of astronomical understanding beyond what historians traditionally ascribe to ancient Greeks. Could this device, with intricate gears and astronomical dials, be evidence of extraterrestrial influence on ancient Greek knowledge? So as we traverse the intellectual landscape of ancient Greece, we find ourselves entangled in a web of myth, philosophy, and enigma. The Greeks, pioneers of thought, explorers of the mind, left us with more than philosophy. They left us with fragments that hint at a cosmic dialogue, an interaction with forces beyond the terrestrial realm. Whether in the poetry of the Iliad or the mathematical precision of the Antikythera mechanism, I tried. The Greeks, it seems, might have navigated not only the deep sea, but also the cosmic ocean, encountering beings that dwell in the spaces between the stars. Okay folks, time to chat about a civilization I am positive had communication with those not from this earth, the ancient Egyptians. So in the vast expanse of time where the echoes of pyramids still resonate, the sands of Egypt harbor secrets. Secrets that some suggest could be inscribed with interstellar ink. The Egyptians, architects of wonder and purveyors of mysticism, have long been a source of fascination. Beneath the veneer of hieroglyphics and the golden mask of King Tut, speculative whispers linger. the possibility that the ancient Egyptians may have been in contact with extraterrestrial beings. Within the corpus of Egyptian mythology, gods walked among mortals, wielding cosmic power. Ra, the sun god, traversed the heavens in a solar boat, while Thoth, the ibis-headed deity, measured time with cosmic precision. These divine narratives, seemingly tales of allegory and symbolism, are like cosmic breadcrumbs leading to ponderous contemplation. Did these gods, with their otherworldly attributes, originate in the heavens among the stars? Now, I know I've talked about this plenty before, but once again, consider the construction of the pyramids, monolithic marvels that defy easy explanation. The precision with which these colossal structures align with celestial bodies sparks a lot of thought. Could the ancient Egyptians, in their mastery of architectural prowess, have sought inspiration beyond earthly realms? The alignment of the pyramids with constellations such as Orion's Belt adds a cosmic layer to the mystique. The famous hieroglyphs, etched into the walls of temples and tombs, depict earthly life, rituals, and religious ceremonies. However, hidden within the labyrinth of these ancient symbols, some theorists discern messages that seem to transcend the terrestrial. Is it conceivable that the Egyptians, in their communion with divine entities, were actually communicating with extraterrestrial intelligence? And now that we no longer use hieroglyphics as a form of communication, aliens don't visit or communicate as much? Think of the Sphinx, the majestic guardian that has stood the test of time. Some folks see it not just as a symbol of royal authority, but a potential sentinel of cosmic wisdom. The alignment of the Sphinx with certain constellations further fuels speculation. Could this colossal creature, half human, half lion, be a testament to encounters with beings that hailed from distant galaxies? The pharaoh Akhenaten, with his radical shift towards the worship of a single deity, the Aten, represented as a sun disk, adds an intriguing chapter to Egypt's cosmic narrative. Did Akhenaten and his fervor for a singular cosmic force draw inspiration from encounters with extraterrestrial entities, preaching the unity of cosmic energy? So as we sift through the sands of time today, glimpses of cosmic contemplation emerge from the whispers of Egypt's past. Whether in the geometry of the pyramids, the symbolism of hieroglyphs, or the radical theology of Akhenaten, the possibility that the ancient Egyptians navigated not only the Nile, but also the cosmic expanse persists a civilization that, in its pursuit of the divine, may have touched the fringes of the celestial unknown. Within the intricate folds of Hindu mythology, a complex weave of gods, epics, and cosmic encounters beckons us to explore the possibility that ancient Hindus, in their profound reflections, may have had contact with somebody not of this world. The Rig Veda, a foundational text of Hinduism, resonates with hymns that evoke cosmic dimensions. As the verses weave through descriptions of chariots of the gods and celestial realms, the question arises: were these hymns poetic metaphors or sincere reflections on cosmic interactions? The Vimanas, described as, once again, flying chariots, evoke images that transcend the earthly realm, prompting contemplation on whether ancient seers envisioned otherworldly encounters. Epics like the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, narrative pillars of Hindu mythology, introduce characters and events that transcend the ordinary human experience. The flying Pushpaka Vimana of Ravana, traversing the skies in the Ramayana, and the divine weapons unleashed in the Mahabharata raise intriguing questions. Could these accounts be symbolic tales, or do they hint at a cosmic canvas where extraterrestrial influences intermingle with the affairs of humans? Ancient texts such as the Puranas delve into the genealogy of gods and celestial beings, portraying a cosmos teeming with diverse entities. Deities riding celestial vehicles and traversing vast cosmic distances blur the lines between the mythic and the cosmic. So in these narratives, are we witnessing the imaginative expressions of ancient minds, or echoes of encounters beyond Earth? The concept of darshanas, the various philosophical schools of thought in Hinduism, delves into the nature of reality, consciousness, and the cosmos. The Upanishads, profound meditative reflections, explore the interconnectedness of the individual soul with the cosmic reality. So as ancient sages sought to fathom the cosmic mysteries, did their contemplations lead them to envision a cosmos populated by beings beyond our earthly understanding? In the intricate dance of Shiva, the cosmic dancer, and the celestial realms of gods and goddesses, Hindu cosmology entwines the earthly with the cosmic. Temples aligned with astronomical precision, rituals attuned to cosmic rhythms, these suggest a civilization that sought to harmonize with the celestial order. Were these endeavors merely symbolic, or did they reflect a deeper understanding of cosmic influences on human existence? Whether through hymns, epics, or philosophical musings, ancient Hindus navigated the realms of gods and cosmic forces. Whether conceived as metaphorical tales or profound truths, the narratives of ancient Hinduism invite us to contemplate the possibility that, in their quest for understanding, they might have glimpsed realms beyond our earthly abode. Now that we have all of the obvious out of the way today, let's try what I think is a wild card with Turkey. Amid the Anatolian landscapes and the echoes of Byzantium, whispers of extraterrestrial encounters linger in the historical corridors. The tales of Turkey's ancient civilizations invite contemplation, a journey into the realms where earthly history intertwines with the cosmic unknown. Göbekli Tepe, a marvel nestled in the southeastern hills of Turkey, stands as a sentinel of antiquity. This archaeological enigma predates the pyramids of Egypt, challenging conventional narratives of human development. Massive stone pillars, adorned adorned with intricate carvings of animals and symbols beckon contemplation. Could the architects have been inspired or guided by celestial beings? Theories echo through the ages, suggesting that this site, with its astronomical alignments, might have served as a cosmic meeting ground. So as we traverse the pages of history, the celestial intrigues continue. The Hittites, an ancient Anatolian people, left behind inscriptions and artifacts that hint at a fascination with the cosmos. The Rock Sanctuary, a sacred site adorned with reliefs of gods and goddesses, captures the essence of cosmic reverence. The symbiotic dance between Titi kings and celestial deities raises questions. Did these rulers perceive themselves as intermediaries between Earth and the cosmic pantheon? The mythology of ancient Anatolia, replete with gods and goddesses, often intertwines the earthly and the cosmic. In the tales of Phrygians, the mystical realms of Midas and Cybele, cosmic symbolism dances with the terrestrial. In Ephesus, where the ruins echo with the footfalls of Melania, the temples of Artemis stands as a testament to cosmic veneration. The celestial aspects of Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, illuminate the intersection of ancient Anatolian beliefs and the cosmic order. Temples aligned with celestial events, where rituals sought to harmonize with the cosmic rhythms, speak to a civilization that felt a profound connection to the celestial realm. If we didn't have enough to worry about in this crazy new year, may I offer you 10-foot tall aliens? Here's the thing, anything over 7 feet tall is already terrifying to me, personally. Ditto for aliens on their own, no matter what they look like. So if you're combining those two, hello, Alexa's Nightmares 101. A video showing two human-like creatures on top of a hill at an island in Brazil was gaining some traction on social media the other day. According to a New York Post report, the beings were 10 foot tall and spotted at Ilha do Mel, an island more than 3 kilometers off of the coast of southeast Brazil. Ilha do Mel, a favorite spot for environmentally conscious travelers and beach lovers, is celebrated for its varied ecosystems. Spanning a mere 5 kilometers in length and 800 meters in width, the island presents a scenic mosaic of natural marvels. So there was a couple of videos that were floating around. There was a main one, and then the second one was pretty close by, and the appearance of these creatures on the hilltop kind of sparked some buzz amongst the locals. They stand confidently on top of the hill, which locals say is difficult to reach, with the shrubbery barely reaching their knees. The pair could be seen swinging their arms in an eerily human-like manner, but not enough to convince eyewitnesses that they weren't witnessing aliens. One person said in one of the videos I saw, "It's too big to be a person." I agree. Look at the way he moves. It's really weird. Look at the size of those. It's very fast. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. For me, it's enough to see the speed with which this creature goes down the hill. Anybody who's done trails on hills like this knows that you don't go down a hill like this in 1 to 2 minutes. That was from one user on Instagram, and somebody else said that the way they move reminds him a lot of the Men in Black, which eep. Every time I mention the Men in Black, I get scared that they're just gonna be like right behind me and just. Somebody else was like, one thing I do know, I'm never stepping there again. Even the Brazilian government had to make a statement. They're like, okay, we're not gonna confirm if, the giants were tourists from another country or another planet, but they're like, surreal what happened on Ilha do Mel. Great summer. It's another story, and even strange beings came to check it out. Which, that's a bit of a weird tweet. Could you at least, deny, please? Or confirm? Not this weird, yay, tourist stuff. That's just scary. Time to travel back to a video from 2011 that I have no clue how to explain. We're traveling over to Sri Lanka for this one, and while it's not an alien sighting, it's one of the more unique UFOs I've ever seen in the sky. Look, I think I can mention that, and that's saying something at this point. It has been almost a year of me hanging out with all of you fabulous internet people, and I've seen a lot of UFOs. So let's picture this. Not your run-of-the-mill alien sighting. This is a spectacle in the sky that defies any kind of explanation. We're not venturing into the cliched realms of little green men here. This is a peculiar cosmic artifact. The UFO looks holographic, kind of like a metallic spinning top toy, like a Beyblade, or 2 metallic Hershey Kisses pushed together and it's just sort of hovering in the sky. Whee! It's not your typical saucer-shaped trope. Think of it as a, once again, celestial Beyblade making an appearance in the skies. And the visual oddity doesn't end there. This could be, like I said, some Hershey Kisses. They could be engaged in a cosmic tango, pushed together in an otherworldly embrace. I know, it's a bit of a stretch, but look at the dang thing. And also look at its peculiar nature. It's a metallic spinning top, just hovering in the vast expanse of the sky, seeming to scoff at the conventions of our earthly expectations. This isn't your mundane, everyday UFO flying saucer. This is a cosmic ballet that leaves us, the audience to this extraterrestrial performance, in a state of what the bleep? Think of it this way. Is it a mere quirk in the sky, a celestial play of lights and shadows, or is it a glimpse into the cosmic absurdity that eludes our comprehension? The very essence of unidentified flying objects lies in the ambiguity that shrouds them, and this enigma is no exception. As we navigate, the unknowns, it's encounters like this that beckon us to question our understanding. Are we actually witnessing advanced extraterrestrial technology? Or is this an elaborate hoax? Is this some really weird drone, or a government thing that we don't know about yet? In the grand giant theater of the cosmos where the stage is set with galaxies and the script is written in the language of the stars, this UFO takes center stage as I don't know what. The cosmic mystery persists, leaving folks like me to grapple with the enigma of metallic spinning tops and celestial Hershey's kisses just hovering in the tapestry of the unknown. Yes, I'm hungry, yes, it's close to Valentine's Day, and yes, I do have Hershey kisses at home. Okay, imagine you're a homeowner, heading out into your backyard simply to throw away trash and suddenly face to face with an alien. I don't think that'll ever happen to me in this lifetime, mainly because I don't see myself owning a home anytime soon. In this economy, as an actress, don't make me laugh. I know the worst my dad has ever dealt with was a baby bear, or maybe like a mama bear invading the trash, and you know, he is a homeowner. Thankfully, they never tried to break through what was a wooden back door at the time. Not anymore, but at the time. Yeah, I know. Come on, Alexa, get back on topic. Last June, a video was circulating on the app formerly known as Twitter, depicting a non-human entity appearing briefly and blinking. The footage revealed a distinct form featuring two large eyes aligning with the caller's previous description. The caller reported, there's like an 8-foot person beside it, and another one is inside, and it has big eyes, and it's looking at us, and it's still there. So in a couple of the videos, like 3 men and a woman can be seen attempting to record a non-human something. Notably, one of them is armed with a personal safety device. This did take place in the States after all. All of the folks in the video appear visibly frightened by the presence of this non-human entity that's just hanging out. And the police didn't really make an official statement, because why would they? The video footage that was accessed by a local news source, News Now, did show one officer walking into the backyard to investigate, and the video also shows a witness telling the police, I don't believe in it, but what I saw right now, I do believe in. And the cop's like, yeah, you guys seem like legit scared, so I don't blame you. However, without any concrete evidence, the police closed the case with no concrete answers. But like, come on folks, you know, I know, government cover-ups are a thing, the proof is there. Good old malls, usually home to high schoolers, senior walking groups, and the most annoying families you will ever encounter. Trust me, I used to work in retail at a fairly large mall. Can you guess which store? But apparently on the first day of this 2024 year, the Miami Mall over in Florida might just have been home to something a little more out of this world. Alright, let's start with the official story. Apparently a group of roughly 50 youths caused a riot at Bayside Marketplace, an outdoor mall roughly 5 miles from South Beach. And granted, this is according to the Miami Police Department. They were setting off fireworks, which like, really? So obviously this led to panic, as some assumed there was a much more major crime. Now this came from Miami Police Department's Public Information Officer, Michael Vega. Only 4 folks were arrested though. Police were dispatched for crowd control due to, the panic. I've been in some panicky situations in crowds. You need a lot of help. Some businesses were also temporarily closed to allow the cops to clear the area, but Vega was like, aliens had nothing to do with this. Nope. He emailed the press saying there was no aliens, we didn't close any airports, nothing's being withheld from the public, LOL. Well, that's what people in power always say. Especially with an LOL, I believe that statement as far as I can throw it. And I'm not very athletic. In the days after the incident, folks on social media burst into a frenzy, honing in on what they described as Miami Mall aliens. Some folks suggested police were responding to aliens, not young people. Several people reviewed video of the incident circulating online and claimed that they could see an alien figure in the grainy footage. Others quickly posted memes because, well, we love memes. To quote a post I saw on the app formerly known as Twitter, 10 feet alien/creatures caught on camera, fired at inside and outside Miami Mall, media silent, cops are covering it up saying young people were fighting with fireworks, yet all these cop cars and air traffic stopped that night except for black military choppers and no media coverage. Wow, feel like I'm getting a nasty case of deja vu. Really? Like black military choppers? Clips taken from the viral video were shared a lot on social media, claiming that an 8 to 10 foot alien could be seen at the mall. Now once again, 10-foot tall aliens? Multiple? In this year already? The low quality clip appears to show a tall glowing figure near police vehicles. Look, I've seen videos that were less likely to be aliens turn out to be worth something in terms of being the genuine article, so I'm not dismissing it. What if every Florida man photo or meme was just an alien trying to blend in here on Earth and failing? Chew on that for thought. Also, what if they were hanging out in Brazil and were like, let's go try Miami next? I'm not quite sure if the final entry into today's list is a large bug, alien, or UFO, so I'm gonna need y'all's assistance to help me decipher just what in tarnation this damn thing is. So, the video, capturing this cloaked jellyfish-shaped object gracefully traversing the airspace above a US military base, kinda has a lot of people going, huh? This very curious footage, recorded through the lens of a thermal imaging camera, adds a layer of complexity to the ever-mysterious UFO whodunits. The video was initially shared by UFO investigator Jeremy Corbell and brought the peculiar incident into the public eye. Jeremy emphasized the incredible risk undertaken by an individual within the military ranks to smuggle this footage into the public domain. Whistleblowers have a very bad history of just disappearing if the government isn't happy, or just publicly being discredited if their boss is in a good mood. Now the intrigue deepens as Jeremy details the movements of this jellyfish-looking, I don't know, and mesmerizing mesmerizing ballet unfolds as the unidentified object glides over a body of water, abruptly halts its movement, descends into the water with an almost ritualistic precision, and then for a suspended 17 minutes, embraces silence. But then with the suddenness of cosmic punctuation, it goes emerges from the water, launching itself into the sky at a daring around 45-degree angle. I was not good in math, folks. Amidst all of this, Sue Gao, a spokesperson for the Department of Defense, kind of came out. She's like, okay, official statement right here. In her very carefully crafted words, she refrains from validating or debunking the authenticity of the leaked material, saying, we don't comment on the authenticity of alleged DoD materials that may have been leaked. But once again, may have, not confirming, not denying. The subtleties of the statement aren't going unnoticed, everybody. Analysts like Ross Coulthart highlight the absence of a categorical denial, interpreting it as a strategic maneuver by government entities. It's the good old dance of neither confirm, don't deny. A classic diplomatic move when navigating, all this alien and UFO knowledge that we have. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, because my personal verdict, it's real. We saw this at Roswell. We've seen this ever since. The government says, oh, it's fake, and then it's real. A few weekends ago, the weekend of March 9th to the 10th to be specific, Rock Springs city attorney and longtime UFO investigator Richard Beckwith spotted something strange in the Wyoming sky, unlike anything else he had seen in his career. Thankfully for us, he captured this on camera. Now, what did he say? Well, he said, I've never seen a UFO before I made this recording. We have the footage with us now, and I'd like for you folks to watch it. To me, it looks like a mix of yellowish, reddish, and orange spacecrafts that are all flying together, and they're all radiating lights. They're definitely flying in a way that doesn't make any logical sense when you consider human technology for aircrafts, unless the military wants to fess up right now about any tech they haven't told us about yet, which not gonna happen. And I'm including drones in my comparison, by the way. I've seen enough of those amateur and professional models of the little guys in action to know that this isn't that. So late in the evening on March 9th, Beckwith received a call from a friend who lived near Green River, about 15 miles southwest of where he was. So he grabbed his camera, his tripod, and what he witnessed once he got there came as a shock. He watched the object pulsating. It was moving rapidly from side to side. Now, Beckwith isn't trying to prove the object was an alien spacecraft, he's just trying to find an explanation. But you know where we stand on this. He has received a few potential leads on social media, but hasn't yet found any evidence as to what it could be. Now, it's time for him to dive into his investigation. He's done the right thing. He requested radar records from the FAA and connected with other witnesses. Gathering this information will help him find a reasonable explanation, or it might help him determine if it's truly a UFO. We do have a quote from him. He spoke to a couple of press outlets. He said that using the locations of the two different groups of witnesses, including myself, the angle and the distance between those two, and the angles between them and the object, and trigonometry, I should be able to pretty easily determine the location and get a good estimate of the size of the object. Right now, I have no idea. Well, when it comes to me, math ain't my strong suit, never has been, so I'm gonna trust him on that front. He's still hunting, and I wish him luck getting those radar records. Look, he did the right thing by asking for them, but I doubt he's gonna get them. He's also been pleading for anybody with more information to email him, and I bet his inbox is already flooded. So, good luck, pal. Time to travel over to the Ukraine for our next video. I mean virtually, folks. That's not somewhere you wanna be vacationing anytime soon. I can't spell out why, because Yule-tube rules, but I'm sure we're all pretty aware of current world events. So the 406th Battalion captured a UFO on tape with a drone on the front lines over in Ukraine, and the video in question was posted to Reddit about a month ago. User Lively420 described the video as exclusive footage submitted to the frontier conflict from a unit they support showing a UAP over the front lines in the Ukraine. So, let's watch the video. Yeah, you can see it zooming in on what looks like a flat disk UFO in a gray sky, and that's a pretty typical UFO shape, ergo makes sense to me. User Toru32 was kind enough to decipher the chatter in the video for everybody, so allow me to discuss what was being said. Why can't he fire missiles at us? What do you mean? Holy F. F word. What the F is this? I'm telling you it's UFO for sure. It's standing still. Zoom in more. It's standing still, do you see? Can't see anything on the thermal cameras. Maybe ram it? They couldn't make out the last sentence, but I'm sure you get the idea by this point. Not to sound like a broken record, but if military officials don't know what the bleep they're seeing in the sky, and these are folks trying to recognize aircrafts from all sorts of different ways of the world, I'm leaning once again towards UFO. It should be noted that a lot of these experts are trained at what they call REIS, which is the art of recognizing aircrafts by their shapes, paint schemes, unit insignia, and more. Hyperfixation to the max? Maybe, but it takes a very specific brain to remember all of that. And if something doesn't make sense to that person, being the expert, it falls under unknown. Some folks have tried to discredit this video by saying it looks like a ship in the water, but consider the following. This footage was taken over land, and the pros are using a thermal camera. Ergo, the distortion causing the air over the water temperature shift would be visible. I don't have any other theories, but let me know in the comments if you do. Also, if this is legit, this means that commercial quadcopter drones are able to detect UFOs, and that's pretty huge news. You could potentially blanket an area with a drone swarm, all armed with IR cameras pointed right up. Since drones don't have, meat pilots, they're able to perform maneuvers that would otherwise be impossible to endure the G-forces of with any conventional aircraft, so we could get some close approaches. Okay, imagine this. Somebody reports a sighting, you could have like 30 plus drones in the area in minutes to investigate in a non-hostile manner. I would be foaming at the mouth for that footage and clarity. Like, gimme, gimme, gimme. Here's another Reddit gem, footage from some skydivers. This is definitely a clip where you need to wait it out. Because sure, I was ready to dismiss this one at first. I was like, okay, very obvious balloons in the sky, hoax hat on, next, click off. But then I was scrolling through the comments and I realized I wasn't supposed to be paying attention to that. I was supposed to wait for the curious little white dotted formation to appear near the folks hanging out in the sky. User Emery X captioned this video by saying, "We're skydivers, so we know it's not us." Second white speck we've seen today, seemingly floating down, wind up high. Odd orbital looking activity around it when zoomed in. Thought maybe stabilization stuff, but the bugs flying around in the video don't have that problem. So right there, that rules out a lot of the obvious debunking possibilities. They mentioned later that they had conferred with the human in the sky, who had also seen the unknown white things, so that's even more confirmation of it being something unknown, ergo a UFO. I think some of the commenters summed up my feelings exactly. If it's not CGI or doctored, I don't know what the bleep that is. The movement of the fast moving white thing around the bigger white thing reminded some folks of the ping pong ball in a cup effect that Dave Fravor described when he first saw the Tic Tac, and I agree with that. To elaborate, retired Navy Commander David Fravor, I know, I should be formal, was commander of the FA-18F squadron on the Nimitz when he spotted that specific object during a flight off of the coast of Southern California on November 14th of 2004. Him and Lieutenant Commander Alex Dietrich, who I've talked about a lot of times on this channel, were training with the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group about 100 miles southwest of San Diego. Now at the time, advanced radar on a ship that was part of their training group, the Princeton, detected what operators called multiple anomalous aerial vehicles over the horizon, descending 80,000 feet in less than a second. Fravor and Dietrich diverted to investigate. Fravor was like, "Dude, do you see that thing down there?" And they saw this little white tic-tac looking object that was kind of moving around above the whitewater area. Now during the trainings exercise, both of them each had a weapons system officer in the backseat of the plane. So there was 4 folks in airplanes just watching this thing for about 5 minutes. Fravor was like, "Okay, I'm going in, let's get a closer look." And he described the tic-tac object mirroring his movements. He's like, "It was aware we were there. The object was about the size of the plane, no markings, no wings, no exhaust plumes, and when he tried to cut it off, it accelerated so quickly that it just disappeared." He said it was detected roughly 60 miles away less than a minute later. Now later, he went on record as saying, "I think what we experienced was well beyond the material science and the capabilities that we had at the time, that we have currently, or that we're going to have in the next 10 to 20 years. I think this spotting was similar to that one, and I stand by that statement as well." This is technically both a Reddit and a TikTok post, and while I usually hesitate to use TikTok as any kind of reference with how much videos can be edited on that platform, this seemed legitimate enough for me. User Dylan's mom uploaded this gem, which, sidebar, such a cute username. The caption reads as follows. "On Friday, March 1st of 2024, around 6 p.m., I captured a strange black object moving and changing shape in the sky above Bennington, Vermont. I did use Google Photos to help stabilize the video, and I muted the background noises of all the traffic and my voice. The video quality isn't that great, so I do apologize for that. No other edits have been made though. If anyone has any ideas of what this could be, please feel free to leave a comment. I posted my video on my TikTok account, but I wanted to share it with all of you." And seems innocent enough. So in the video, you can see what looks like a typical sunset, and then at first what seems like a speck of dust or a plastic bag in the sky. But then the camera zooms in a smidge and focuses, and you can clearly tell that what we're looking at is some sort of dark flat UFO that's aimed in a way that, well, wouldn't make sense velocity-wise for any kind of human aircraft or drone. Some folks suggested it could be a black contrail, which if you're not familiar with the term, don't worry, neither was I until today. Contrails, which is short for condensation trails or vapor trails, are line-shaped clouds produced by aircraft engine exhaust or changes in air pressure, typically at aircrafts cruising altitudes several miles above Earth's surface. Look, I used to see jets flying in the air all the time growing up, and this was too precise in my opinion to be a contrail. It was too solid and didn't seem to break apart. Also, once again, what human spacecraft leaves black condensation behind? That just doesn't make sense. Alrighty folks, we're gonna end today with a story that I know has been on everybody's minds lately, and that's the monolith that popped up over near Hay Bluff. So last week, a hiker in Wales said he discovered this monolith, and it's kind of similar to those found around the world in 2020. Craig Muir, a builder, discovered the approximately 10-foot tall I don't know what during a regular hike, which means he's familiar with the area. Ergo, this wasn't just something left behind, some new discovery. This was something new that landed here on Earth. Originally, he was like, okay, it's a little bizarre. It might be a scientific media research thing collecting rainwater. But then he was like, okay, no, I'm wrong. This is too tall, too strange. What on earth? So he's like, okay, I'm gonna go investigate, which you're very brave to do so. He's like, okay, it's about 10 feet tall, kind of triangular, definitely stainless steel, maybe. At least that's what he knows. He's like, it seems hollow. I guess he knocked on it. And he's like, it seems like it would be pretty light. Which, hey, that all makes sense with what we know about UFOs. The column is similar to the monoliths discovered in a southwest Utah desert back in 2020. And there was also some that were discovered in like California, Texas, Florida, Wisconsin, Romania, and plenty of other places. Now, while the most famous artist later took credit for several of the US-based monoliths, nobody's claimed this one. So I'm betting on the aliens here with their advanced technology and advanced materials. Alrighty, how about we start off today with the most recent sighting on our list. Deep in the abyssal expanse of the Pacific Ocean, a mysterious circular enigma emerged. Scott Waring, a self-proclaimed UFO researcher, took center stage in this cosmic odyssey, unveiling a revelation that echoes from the depths off the coast of Nazca, Peru. The year is 2022, and the digital lens of Google Earth becomes the vessel through which Waring embarks on a journey into the aquatic unknown. As pixels coalesce to form the underwater tapestry, Waring's gaze fixates on a dark circle, an anomaly nestled in the oceanic embrace. The conjecture unfolds the circular specter, a submerged UFO, its secrets buried beneath the unfathomable depths. Waring's proclamation resounds. The UFO, a colossal entity spanning almost 5 miles in diameter, shrouded in the aquatic mysteries of the Pacific's abyss. The stage expands beyond the solitary UFO. It converges with the ancient whispers etched on the canvas of the Nazca lines. I've talked about them plenty. The tapestry of geoglyphs etched into the very earth of the Nazca Desert. Archaeologists, custodians of the past, have grappled with the purpose of these lines. It's a cosmic dance, a celestial calligraphy reaching towards the heavens. Some suggest an attempt to communicate with deities in the sky, a primitive signal across the eons. Others think, the lines might be more relating to the cosmos, seeing observatories woven into the very fabric of ancient knowledge. Unfortunately, because they're so old, we may never know the true meaning behind them. I've talked about them in depth pretty often around here, so I do recommend watching some of the other alien and UFO videos on the channel to get caught up if you're not already. So it's here, at the nexus of terrestrial and aquatic mysteries, where Waring perceives a connection. The submerged UFO, the unknown sentinel, all tethered to the Nazca lines in purpose or by coincidence? The juxtaposition of the ancient glyphs and the colossal dark disk between the ocean's surface kinda sparks the flames of speculation. Are the lines, etched by human hands, remnants of a cosmic dialogue? Or Waring, because he, like me, believes in extraterrestrials, thinks that the ancient Nazca culture sought communion with the deities beyond the celestial veil. Perhaps beings not of Earth? Aliens? His convictions echo in the digital realm, where pixels and conspiracies kind of converge. Waring's words echo through the channels of his cybernetic proclamations. The disk at the bottom of the ocean is 100% proof of aliens, which is a bold declaration, suggesting that the very technology of otherworldly origin is just hanging up beneath the ocean surface, something that's been there since long before our digital scrutiny. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are skeptical out there. It's kind of like that shadowy figure in the corner. Critics may dissect the pixels, question the accuracy of the digital lens, and ponder when it comes to the water, the human mind might be conjuring some stuff up where we don't see things already. The submerged UFO becomes an artifact of faith, kind of like a test for believers and skeptics alike. As the mysteries persist, this enigma, a cosmic punctuation mark beneath the waves, awaits the scrutiny of digital archaeologists, cosmic poets, and those who dare to peer into the unknown. Before I accidentally turn today into a UFO fest, which will probably still happen, have you met me? How about we dive into the idea of an underwater alien landing area? The theory stems from a number of UFO sightings near the Solomon Islands, with witnesses claiming the UFOs appear to rise out of the surrounding ocean where warships sank during the Second World War, before vanishing into a remote island lake. This theory was discussed on the History Channel's Ancient Aliens show, which looks at the most credible alien evidence here on Earth. Which, my kind of show. Author Andrew Collins said on the program that there have been reports that objects, strange lights, actually rise up out of the waters into the air and move about for a period of time and then disappear. And often this is either witnessed from the beach or experienced close hand by fishermen, and it is said that sometimes these objects come so close that the fishermen can actually feel the heat as they pass. Another author, Mike Barra, said there have been sightings of flying saucers appearing over the wreckage, flying into and out of mountains and volcanoes in the area, making the whole area really pretty interesting. Another commentator on the show said that the UFOs are often seen in the ocean, as well as the sky. So, we got a lot of opinions here, and they all agree. He said that people often talk about seeing light, not only in the sky, but in the ocean. You see lights in the ocean, like he can't stress this enough. And they see lights flying past overhead as well, sometimes crashing, once again, into the ocean, like a plane would crash. These sightings have led some to conclude that aliens might have underwater bases in the area. And you might not want to cross paths with the mysterious life forms either. Tim Swartz, author of Conspiracy Journal, said that there are numerous accounts of abductions, people who disappear after coming into contact with said UFOs, never to be seen again. Now, I know the story of Betty and Barney Hill far too well to joke about alien abductions right now. Heck, I've talked plenty about abductions on this channel, and it's a very real and very scary thing. No thank you. Alrighty, back to UFOs we go. The Shag Harbor UFO incident was the reported impact of an unknown large object into waters near Shag Harbor, Nova Scotia, a tiny fishing village on the Atlantic coast on October 4th of 1967. The reports were investigated by the RCMP, the Canadian Coast Guard, the Navy, the Air Force, as well as the U.S. Condom Committee, because you gotta have everybody. I also had to research that because at first I thought it was a table for condom, and I was busting a gut laughing. Okay, I know. Time for facts. At about 11:20 p.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, at least 11 people saw a low-flying lit object heading towards the harbor. Multiple witnesses reported hearing a whistling sound, like a, kaboom, and then a whoosh, and then finally a loud bang. While en route to Toronto while flying over Sherbrooke and St. Jean, Quebec, at about 3,658 meters from the Halifax International Airport, Air Canada officer Robert Ralph pointed out to Captain Pierre Charbonneau on Flight 305 that there was something strange outside of the left side of the aircraft at 7:15 p.m. In his report, the captain reported an object tracking along a parallel course a few miles away. He described it as brilliantly lit, a rectangular object with a string of smaller lights trailing it. At 7:19 p.m., the pilots noticed a sizable silent explosion near the large object, and 2 minutes later, a second explosion occurred, which faded to a blue cloud around said object. Meanwhile, while standing at the wheelhouse of his vessel, Captain Leo Howard Mercy was looking at 4 blips on his decorator that were stationary. When he looked up about 28 kilometers from the vessel's windows, he could see the 4 bright objects situated in a roughly rectangular formation. The entire crew of nearly 20 fishermen stood on deck and watched the object in the northeastern sky. Mercy radioed the Rescue Coordination Center and the harbor master in Halifax asking for an explanation, and also filed a report with the Lunenburg RCMP, outlining his sighting when they returned to port. So let's go back over to Halifax. The Chronicle Herald and local radio stations reported a glowing object that was seen by many people who were calling into the newsroom. They reported witnessing strange glowing objects flying around Halifax at around 10 p.m. Assuming an aircraft had crashed, within about 15 minutes, 2 RCMP officers had arrived at the scene. Concerned for survivors, the RCMP detachment contacted the Rescue Coordination Center in Halifax to advise them of the situation and ask if any aircrafts were, missing. Before any attempt at rescue could be made, the flying object, with lights still showing, started to sink and disappeared from view. Just in the water and just glug, 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 glug. So, RCMP is going to assemble a rescue mission, ASAP. Within about a half an hour of the crash, local fishing boats went out to the crash site in the waters of the Gulf of Maine off of Shag Harbor to look for survivors. But there was no survivors, no bodies, no debris. Nothing was taken by fishermen, Canadian Coast Guard, nothing. Which, by the way, the Coast Guard search and rescue cutter arrived about an hour later from nearby Clark's Harbor. By the next morning, RCC Halifax had determined that no aircrafts were missing, and while still tasked with the search, the captain of the Canadian Coast Guard cutter received a radio message from RCC Halifax that all commercial, private, and military aircraft were all accounted for. And this was all along the eastern seaboard, in both Atlantic provinces and New England. They were pretty thorough. They're like, okay, we got nothing missing here. The same morning, RCC Halifax also sent a priority telex to the air desk at Air Force headquarters in Ottawa, which handled all civilian and military UFO sightings, informing them of the crash and that all conventional explanations such as aircraft, flares, everything, they'd all been dismissed. We knew nothing. The object was never officially identified and was therefore referred to as an unidentified flying object in Government of Canada documents. Yep, I'm just going to repeat this for a fact because you heard me. The Government of Canada officially confirmed it as a UFO. 2 days after the incident had been observed, a detachment of Navy divers from the Fleet Diving Unit Atlantic were assembled, and for the next 3 days, they combed the seafloor off of the Gulf of Maine, right off of Shag Harbor, looking for anything. Final report? No traces. No nothing. El Zippo. Just saying, it's fascinating that nobody found anything. And that the government confirmed it was a UFO. So, take that, skeptics. Alright, time to go back into the unknown. In 1977, the town of Broadhaven on the Atlantic Ocean coast of Wales was the location of a string of strange sightings that is considered the largest in the UK history. Roughly 450 people in total, according to government records, which is a lot of witnesses. So in my opinion, too many for this to be a hoax. It began with a sighting by 16 school-aged folks in February on a schoolyard of what they called a cigar-shaped object. A few of the witnesses claimed to have seen faceless beings near the supposed aircraft. Other locals began claiming to have also seen unexplainable things around the town, including the creatures without faces. A farming family reported multiple sightings in April and May, and even claimed that 120 of its cows mysteriously appeared on a neighbor's field a mile and a half away. But the rumor of extraterrestrials in Broadhaven truly began when multiple people say they saw a silver disc descend into the sea, with some alleging it entered via a small island just off the coast called Stack Rocks. Could it be, people wondered, that these seemingly faceless beings were using the island as a getaway to their secret underwater base? Look, I fully support the theory that aliens use the unknown underwater territory to their advantage, hiding in the depths that we as humans can't reach. I've mentioned it a lot before, but I genuinely think aliens hang out over in the Marianas Trench because humans can't get to the bottom of that. So maybe UFOs can.
We need to look into a peculiar object spotted on the surface of Mars. Could this be a Martian mode of transport, or maybe an extraterrestrial shuttle? Wouldn't it be the most exciting discovery if it was indeed an alien artifact? Unfortunately, this isn't the case. This object, which could easily be mistaken for something out of a sci-fi movie, is actually a fragment of a spacecraft owned by NASA. Specifically, it's a back shell that's separated from NASA's Perseverance rover in February 2021. Despite its earthly roots, as NASA engineer Ian Clark points out, the images certainly give off an out-of-this-world aura. Captured by our trusty robotic helicopter Ingenuity after a year on Mars, these pictures offer a unique perspective. But there's more to this than just space debris. As reported by the New York Times, studying the remnants of this back shell could prove beneficial for NASA's future Mars mission, aptly named Mars Sample Return. This mission will deploy 2 landers and a rover to collect rock samples and a rocket to launch these samples into orbit for their journey back to Earth. The back shell, which played a crucial role in Perseverance's landing, could offer valuable insights into how spacecraft components survive the intense heat and pressure of atmospheric entry. Have you ever gazed at the red planet and thought you spotted something unusual? Perhaps something that could be a UFO? Let us know in the comments below what you think it could be and why. The object's discovery on Mars reminds us of humanity's ongoing presence on the red planet. Over the years, multiple countries and space agencies have successfully sent probes and rovers to Mars, with each mission building upon the previous one's findings. As we continue to explore and learn more about our closest planetary neighbor, it's crucial to remember that we are not alone in this endeavor. As seen from the back shell's journey on Mars, collaboration and cooperation between different countries and organizations play a vital role in our exploration of space. And that's not all. The discovery of NASA's back shell on Mars is not just about space debris or remnants of past missions. It's a testament to our ongoing efforts and determination to understand the red planet more. These images captured by Ingenuity, our brave little helicopter, are not just pictures, but they're proof of our incredible technological achievements and the steps we're taking towards a future where mankind might one day step foot on Mars. Looking at this back shell, we're reminded of the intense journey it had to undertake, from surviving the searing heat and immense pressure of atmospheric entry to fulfilling its role in ensuring the safe landing of Perseverance. Next up, something you've got to hear about. For the first time in history, NASA scientists are beginning to take unexplained anomalies seriously. But how do they decide which cases are serious enough to warrant an investigation? Let's rewind to an otherwise ordinary day in the life of Alex Dietrich, a US Navy lieutenant commander. Cruising over the Pacific Ocean near San Diego, Dietrich was conducting a routine training mission with a fellow officer in separate Super Hornet fighter jets. Suddenly, a message came through the static of the radios. An operations officer aboard the USS Princeton requested their assistance investigating an object that had been observed soaring 80,000 feet high, then making abrupt descents near the ocean surface before seemingly disappearing. Upon reaching the object's last reported location, Dietrich witnessed a puzzling sight. The ocean appeared to be in a boil. Then she saw it, an oblong object about 40 feet long and a pale whitish color hovering just above the water. It looked like a wingless capsule similar to a Tic Tac mitt. As the jets moved to investigate further, the object vanished, zipping into the sky at a breathtaking speed and leaving nothing but calm water in its wake. This event is known as the Tic Tac incident of 2004 and gained notoriety when footage captured by advanced tracking equipment was leaked to the New York Times. This video, later confirmed as authentic by the US Department of Defense, shows the object as a shadowy figure against a bright sky, darting out of frame at an eerily swift speed. The mystery continues. Many questions have been raised about the Tic Tac incident and other similar encounters with unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. How could something move so quickly without any visible propulsion systems? Are there technologies beyond our current understanding at play here? And perhaps most importantly, could these objects be of extraterrestrial origin? These questions have sparked intense curiosity and debate among scientists, government officials, and the general public. However, with more investigations being conducted by organizations like NASA, we may finally receive some answers. In recent years, NASA has started to take a serious interest in researching UAPs. The agency has formed teams dedicated to investigating these phenomena, including the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force. NASA scientists have also been collaborating with other government agencies such as the Pentagon's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program to share data and analyze these mysterious sightings. But why has it taken so long for NASA to get involved? Some believe that there has been a stigma surrounding the topic of UFOs and extraterrestrial life within the scientific community, but with more credible sightings and evidence emerging, the taboo is slowly being lifted. And now we're about to explore Able 68, a colossal cluster of galaxies. Its gravitational field operates like a natural space lens, amplifying and illuminating light from far-flung galaxies. Like in this picture taken from the Hubble telescope, doesn't it look like the alien from the iconic 70s game Space Invaders? That's a spiral galaxy distorted and mirrored due to the intense gravitation, and just to the left of the big, dazzling elliptical galaxy, you can spot a second, less distorted image of the same spiral galaxy. The awe-inspiring image was snapped in infrared by Hubble's Wide Field Camera 3, supplemented by near-infrared observations from Hubble's Advanced Camera for Surveys. Anyway, UFO buffs and investigators are buzzing with excitement, believing to have unearthed evidence of extraterrestrial existence in an official NASA snapshot. The provocative image presents a vague, tiny entity with a pinkish hue set against the craggy Martian terrain. While NASA originally shared this image back in April 2021, it was only in 2022 that the alleged alien sighting was pinpointed by the self-styled UFO and alien enthusiast Scott Waring. The UFO community is notorious for tirelessly scouring through NASA's vast collection of space exploration photos, looking for any hints or clues that could potentially reveal the existence of intelligent life beyond our planet. So when Waring announced his latest discovery on his blog, UFO Sightings Daily, it quickly became viral among like-minded individuals. According to Waring, the UFO in question appears to be hovering above the Martian surface, its shape distinct from the surrounding landscape. He also suggests that the pinkish hue of the UFO could be a result of it reflecting off Mars's red soil. However, many experts and skeptics have dismissed this as simply an unusual rock formation or a trick of light and shadow. Despite this, the excitement among UFO enthusiasts continues to grow, with many hoping that this could be the long-awaited, undeniable proof of extraterrestrial life. The discovery has reignited debates and discussions on the possibility of other civilizations existing in our vast universe. Some argue that it's only a matter of time before we make contact with beings from other planets, while others are more skeptical, stating that there is no concrete evidence to support such claims. Now, we all know that Mars isn't exactly a vacation spot, right? It's pretty harsh and uninviting, and despite their best efforts, scientists have yet to find any signs of old microscopic life there. But here's where it gets interesting. There are naysayers who think that this so-called alien figure is just a rock that happens to look like ET. But hey, where's the fun in just sticking to the plain old facts? So let's dive into this enticing mystery together. As we continue to explore the vast and awe-inspiring universe, we often find ourselves drawn to the possibility of life on other planets. And while Mars may not be our first choice for a dream vacation destination, it still holds a certain fascination for scientists and space enthusiasts alike. Over the years, numerous missions have been sent to Mars in search of answers and clues about its past and potential for supporting life. From rovers to orbiters, each mission brings us one step closer to understanding the red planet. But what about those mysterious figures that have been captured on camera? Could they be a sign of intelligent life or just a trick of light and shadows? Aliens and UFOs are once more the talk of the town in this week's news, but it's not because we had an extraterrestrial mothership touch down on the White House lawn. Instead, it's due to NASA's release of an eagerly anticipated report. This document was crafted by an independent team of scholars commissioned by the agency to probe into the mysterious occurrences, now labeled as unidentified anomalous phenomena or UAP. The term UAP is a broader descriptor for what we traditionally called UFOs, encapsulating anomalies not just in the sky but in space, underwater, and just about everywhere else. Yet NASA's debut UFO report wasn't the sole piece of news hinting at potential non-human entities grabbing the headlines this week. As per a Reuters report, Mexican lawmakers were privy to an account that posited the existence of alien life on Earth, with 2 extraterrestrial corpses as evidence, appearing pale, possessing oversized heads and tiny bodies with a trifecta of fingers, just as stereotypically depicted according to NPR. The Pentagon also released a video showing the US Navy pilots encountering unidentified flying objects that seem to defy the laws of physics. This release follows years of secrecy surrounding UFO sightings and reports from military personnel. The increase in official interest in these phenomena is causing speculation among the public as to what may be truly happening. One theory gaining popularity is that aliens are already among us, living in disguise and interacting with humans on a daily basis. These beings are said to possess advanced technologies and abilities that far surpass our own, giving them the ability to hide their presence and manipulate our perceptions.
In late July of 1947, a woman in Illinois reported to the FBI office in Springfield that she had found a flying disc in her front yard. The Springfield special agent in charge informed FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover that the alleged flying disc was obtained, and it was apparently the concoction of some juveniles in the area. It was an old wooden platter which had assembled on it a silver plate, a spark plug, a timer, and some old brass tubing. No doubt this was somebody's idea of a prank. Now, while most folks might be quick to dismiss the story as a hoax, how many times throughout history has the FBI or the Pentagon or really any government body dismissed legitimate findings in an attempt to discredit true believers and cover stuff up? Y'all remember that Roswell was first called a weather balloon, right? More on that later, but after seeing these photos, this UFO seems pretty real to me. Speaking about the year 1947, that was a hell of a year for UFOs. We will never know exactly what private pilot Kenneth A. Arnold saw while flying past Mount Rainier on June 24th of that year. What he said he saw and spent the rest of his life trying to explain added the words flying saucers to the vocabularies of millions of people around the world. That June afternoon, Arnold took off from Washington on his way to an air show in Oregon with a planned fuel stop in Yakima. He was an experienced pilot with 4,000 hours of flying time logged and a member of an Idaho search and rescue unit. He was piloting a single-engined Call Air A2 light airplane, and the skies were clear and the winds were light. He planned to detour a little bit en route. Why? Well, it was because a U.S. Marine Corps commando transport had crashed with about 32 Marines on board somewhere near his eastward course, and Arnold wanted to find the downed aircraft and claim the $5,000 reward. So shortly before 3 p.m., as Arnold circled his airplane about 20 miles west of the mountain, searching for the plane, he saw a bright flash to the northeast. He said that it startled him. He just assumed it was some military lieutenant with a shiny P-51, and he had caught the reflection of the sun hitting the wings of his plane. After more flashes appeared, Arnold ruled out a nearby Douglas DC-4 airliner as the source. He claimed they emanated from 9 shiny objects flying in a weird formation about 5 miles long. Arnold described each object as circular, about 100 feet across, with no tail. The objects periodically flipped, banked, and weaved side to side, kind of like the tail of a kite. The formation was crossing in front of Arnold, and he decided to time its passage from one mountain to the other. He calculated the objects were flying at about 1,200 miles per hour, 2 times faster than any airplane known at the time. Some months would pass before Colonel Chuck E. Yeager flew the Bell X-1 rocket airplane to a speed of 700 miles per hour, if we're talking like in reference. That also exceeded the speed of sound. Arnold has repeatedly denied that he initially described the objects as flying saucers, but as Megan Garber wrote in her June 15th article for The Atlantic, stories of the time credit him with using the term saucer, and pie pan in his description of the objects he had seen. He told his story to reporters Bill Baquette and Nolan Skiff of the East Oregonian newspaper the day after the sighting, and Skiff used the words saucer-like aircraft when he published the short print article that same day. After suggesting to Arnold that a wire story might generate comments from the military on flights of experimental aircraft that could explain Arnold's sighting, Baquette published a brief story picked up by the Associated Press wire service using the words 9 bright saucer-like objects to describe what Arnold said he saw. By late afternoon, the tale that he had seen flying saucers had spread nationwide. A radio host interviewing Arnold on June 26th noted how rapidly the story was shared, saying the Associated and United Press all over the nation have been after this story. It's been on every newscast, over the air, and in every newspaper he knows of. The Chicago Sun ran the headline, "Supersonic flying saucers sighted by Idaho pilot." Arnold became a media sensation, but he didn't want to be. He didn't like the attention. In 1988, 2 FBI offices received similar versions of a memo titled Operation Majestic 12, claiming to be a highly classified government document. The memo appeared to be a briefing for newly elected President Eisenhower on a secret committee created to exploit a recovery of an extraterrestrial aircraft and cover up this work from public examination. Now, yes, an Air Force investigation did essentially determine the document was fake. But once again, was it actually a fake, or did the government just discredit another UFO expert to cover their traces and prevent real information from getting out? Majestic 12 remains popular among a lot of UFO theorists, and it's been in a lot of different pop culture things. It's pretty real to me. Ever hear about Classification 114, Alien Property Custodian Matter? So this classification was established in 1945 when the Department of Justice directed the FBI to investigate cases brought against the alien property custodian under the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1917 and the First War Powers Act of 1941. Most investigations examined the ownership and control of unvested property and of vested property that was subject to claims and litigation. Additionally, the FBI investigated suspected misuse or misapplication by private citizens of property under the jurisdiction of the Office of Alien Property. Now, this office became part of the Civil Division, Department of Justice in 1946, and that division initiated FBI investigations into this area and received the results of such investigations. By 1960, investigative activity in this classification was pretty low, and it was declared obsolete in 1972. Subsequent alien property investigations were to be opened under Classification 63, miscellaneous civil suits. So I went to go read the documents myself, but the FBI website doesn't have them all released, since they fall under the Yahtzee war crimes and Japanese Imperial Government Disclosure Acts. We're talking all that stuff from 1945. And if you know what a lot of folks know about the evil German dictator and his beliefs in alien tech, one should be wondering if this is an extension of Operation Paperclip, which successfully covered up bringing over and putting Yahtzee folks to use in the States. So what else is being covered up? If you've ever watched The X-Files or other sci-fi shows like it, you might think that investigating unexplained phenomena is one of the FBI's responsibilities, right up there with extremists, espionage, white-collar crime, so forth, so on. Well, fun fact, the FBI was only occasionally involved in investigating the possibility of UFOs and extraterrestrials over the years. And by occasionally, I mean rarely. The first FBI investigations we are aware of began the summer of 1947, the time of the now well-known incident in Roswell, New Mexico. The rash of reports of flying objects, some shaped like flapjacks, saucers, discs, and even a large circular saw that supposedly hit a lightning rod on top of a church started to surface and make headlines across the nation. Trust me folks, there isn't anything additional about that church story, not even a photo that could be found, so if you know anything about it, please let us know in the comments because there's a great story somewhere. Concerned citizens reported many of these strange sightings to the FBI, which wasn't surprising, given that the FBI had investigated airline crashes such as the Hindenburg disaster in 1937 and aerial dangers like the balloon explosives launched by Japan towards the US Pacific Northwest near the end of the big mass extinction event of the 1930s and 40s. The FBI's lead role in protecting the homeland during the war was also well known, and the Bureau remained front and center in ensuring national security as the Cold War began to unfold. Initially, it wasn't super clear how UFO sightings should be handled. We're going back to that FBI director, Hoover. He recognized that the Air Force, then part of the US Army, clearly had the lead in such issues, but he did want his agents to investigate any discs recovered for their potential impact on FBI responsibilities. So yeah, the Army did want the FBI's help, at least at first. On July 30th of 1947, the Bureau, at the request of the Army Air Force's intelligence, has agreed to cooperate in the investigation of flying discs. You should investigate each instance which is brought to your attention of a sighting of a flying disc in order to figure out whether or not it is a bona fide sighting, an imaginary one, or a prank. Well, 3 years later, that policy changed. A July 1950 FBI statement said that the jurisdiction and responsibility for investigating flying saucers has been assumed by the United States Air Force. Information received in this matter is immediately turned over to the Air Force, and the FBI does not attempt to investigate these reports or evaluate the information furnished. So from this point on, the FBI's cases on UFOs dropped off dramatically. Neither the public nor the Air Force sought their expertise as they had previously. And finally for today, there's a number of declassified memos showing the FBI displaying significant early interest in the UFOs. So in one 1950 memo, Guy Hattel, the head of the FBI's Washington, D.C. field office, relayed an unconfirmed report about 3 disc-shaped craft with crew members resembling humans recovered in New Mexico. So, yes, this is all around Roswell, that 1947. Though the newly formed U.S. Air Force did take the lead, Hoover instructed his agents to verify sightings, if requested. So then we've got this memo, sent in 1947 by an Army general to Hoover, confirms military officials were also taking reports seriously by contacting the FBI to investigate sightings. Declassified CIA documents from the 1940s to 90s show agents were instructed to gather foreign UFO reports, though most described unsubstantiated sightings from press reports rather than direct evidence. Alrighty folks, so we're gonna start today off with the son of a man who once ripped a bat's head off with his teeth. None other than Jack Osborne. Hey look, if you're the offspring of Ozzy and Sharon, I'm assuming you've seen some wild stuff in your time, and ergo might be better at telling the supernatural apart from simply out of the ordinary. So in his show, Jack Osborne's Night of Terror UFOs, which is a long title, but whatever, the star teamed up with a couple of his buddies, and since I feel like being a name dropper, Jason Mewes and Jamie Kennedy, with the trio heading off to Utah's Uinta Basin, where the notoriously creepy and mysterious Sherman Ranch sits. Yes, it has another name as well. No, I will not be saying it out of respect. The area has long been known for its otherworldly and unexplainable activity. The 500 acres of isolated land are located between Ballard and Vernal in Utah. Now, the Sherman family acquired the ranch way back in the 1990s. I thought I'd be funny there. And local myths have haunted the region though for centuries, before and afterwards. Now, before the Sherman family inhabited the ranch, the spot was known as UFO Alley, and the Desert News reported that in 1978, nearby residents had spotted a dome-shaped UFO over the ranch that was surrounded by a glowing green light. The family reported doorways of light appearing in mid-air, cattle that vanished, animals mutilated on their property, crop circle-like patterns in the surrounding fields, unidentified flying objects or orbs, and invisible objects emitting destructive magnetic fields. While investigating the disappearance of cattle, one man reportedly saw a large beast, like a wolf but bigger, harassing cattle near the ranch. The man fired an explosive at the creature that hit its intended target, but the creature didn't slow down and appeared to escape unscathed. In recent years, residents of the area have reported seeing strange lights both in the sky and close to the ground, and creatures and shapeshifters manifesting and then disappearing before their eyes. So, let's bring in our guys, shall we? They were joined by UFO expert and former FBI agent Ben Hansen, and they wanted to attempt to figure out if all these phenomena were connected, and also why is all this crazy activity concentrated in that specific area. And hey, I love a good hotspot story, so let's indulge this one. According to Jack, he's been obsessed with the concept of whether or not we're alone since he was like really young and used to stare up at the stars in the sky at night. Hey, I still do it. Now, this area in particular has fascinated him for years because it is a mecca for alien and supernatural activity. To quote him, people are drawn for specific things, but when you come here looking for it, you ought to find something you're not looking for. I've never been to any place like this, and it's its own realm. Alrighty. So thankfully, Hansen brought a grounded and thorough understanding and knowledge, about UFOs to the table, whereas Jack's buddies were responsible for the comedy relief. You know what, Kennedy confessed, I'm okay if I see an alien along the way, as long as it doesn't mess me up. Okay, nobody tell him about Betty and Barney Hill, or anything else I ever talk about on here. So on the second night of their investigation, powerful lightning ripped through the area. Jack even said, it's like something doesn't want us to be here. And there was more than a little indication that he was right. Is this where I say, no SHIT, Sherlock? So he decided, you know what, I'm gonna try the night vision goggles. Always a fun little gadget. And that's when Jack saw something really odd trekking very quickly through the desert. Upright like a human, but then it just vanished. To quote him, I swear to God, I effing just saw an S-walker. And we got it on effing tape, dude, which was what he told its producer, referring to, the shape-shifting witch of legend that morphs into various animals, like wolves or bears. And the evidence didn't stop there, leaving them convinced that the area was a supernatural melting pot, which, obviously. Moving along, we've got out of this world level security. Look, I guess since the US government covers up so much alien and UFO stuff, it makes sense that it could be one of the places aliens are either forced to work at or just work at for safety in our world. There's a saying that the internet never forgets, and that's certainly true of old videos that kind of refuse to die. So this video in particular shows a US Secret Service agent who a lot of us think might be a reptilian shapeshifter. Now this is back from 2013. This is over a decade old now, and it stems from a speech given by former US President Barack Obama at a policy conference, and it was held by a lobbying group known as AIPAC. In the video, conspiracy theorists zoom in on the Secret Service agent and accuse him of being a reptile, saying stuff like, "This was the day that the government was caught with a reptilian Secret Service agent in HD and they didn't deny anything," which kind of raises some obvious questions such as, I don't know. If the government was trying to hide its reptilian agents, why put one in a highly visible position at a televised event? If reptilians are capable of shapeshifting to look like humans, why not just shapeshift into something less obvious, like a table, or a chair, or a microphone? Do shapeshifting reptilians get full pay and benefits, similar to government employees? Look, while this might be considered a conspiracy theory, I looked at the footage myself, I believe it, and also, with the hours that Secret Service must have to keep, it makes sense that a more advanced race would be best in charge of protection guidelines. Now, I did read a story published by Wired, way back when, and there was a quote from Caitlin Hayden, spokeswoman for the National Security Council, in which she refers to the budget cuts at the time, saying, "I can't confirm the claims made in this video, but any alleged program to guard the president with aliens or robots would likely have to be scaled back or eliminated in the sequester. I'd refer you to the Secret Service or Area 51 for more details." I guess alien guards got a raw deal during the sequester. Now, the White House didn't clarify if its reptilian Secret Service agents are subject to the furloughs without pay that were affecting federal employees at the time. That might have prevented Obama from falling into the clutches of an intergalactic conspiracy, which, who knows, maybe the president was in on it from the start. One theorist claims that he literally looked for the video everywhere and couldn't find it. The only place it existed now was Reddit. So if the government was trying to hide the video, it's doing a really bad job. This theory's been floating around for years. I'm not the first one to say it, I won't be the last. Also, one of the more prominent promoters was David Icke. So this whole thing is pretty sure that this race of reptilians is secretly controlling the world, pulling the strings in major human atrocities. Now, David, who is English, has been barred from holding events in countries like the Netherlands and Germany because of his theories. I don't know, folks. What do you think? I saw the footage. I think it's real. Okie doke. So now we're in the middle of the pack, and this one is my personal favorite footage, I think, ever. Right here, on the interwebs, I declare Melania Trump is a shapeshifter. Does anybody else remember back in 2017 to 2020 when Donald Trump was in office and videos of Melania looking a little off took over the internet? Specifically, the first hashtag fake Melania seems to have landed on October 13th of 2017 when a video of Donald and Melania in a news segment was uploaded to Facebook by Andy Wagner. So in the segment, Trump was talking to reporters when he mentioned Melania, who happens to be right here, he said. He gestured to the Melania-esque sort of looking woman in sunglasses next to him, and she didn't say anything, but she does a lot of nodding. So a couple days later, Wagner put it on YouTube, then she tweeted about it a few times, and then it went viral, and now, fake Melania. So after that went viral, Stephanie Grisham, the First Lady's communications director, went on CNN to do some damage control, saying that, once again, we find ourselves consumed with a ridiculous non-story. We could be talking about the work the First Lady is doing, including the opioid crisis that is gripping the nation. Good attempt at taking the conversation in another direction, but I took PR in university. Try better. Here's my theory. What if Melania is an alien shapeshifter and the photos and videos caught her on an off day where she wasn't at full power? Similar to Superman, maybe there's something in our universe that acts as a kryptonite of sorts for her, which is why she's so reclusive in her ways. Fake Melania kind of put the First Lady's reserved approach to her post in the East Wing under a magnifying glass. She stayed in New York City with her son for the first 5 months of Trump's term, and rarely gave public comment in the first 2 years, which is a good way to avoid scrutiny from eagle-eyed folks looking for proof of alien DNA. A source close to Melania claimed that she wasn't really keen on being in the White House, and she even disappeared from public life for weeks. Maybe she was visiting alien relatives. Eventually, her office attributed the absence to a kidney ailment. So even though the White House tried to bury all of this, the meme came back one more time when Trump and his wife visited Alabama. And then, a couple days afterwards, was spiking. Eventually, it settled. Eventually, Trump had to weigh in on Twitter and said, "The fake news photoshopped pictures of Melania then propelled my conspiracy theories that it's actually not her by my side in Alabama and other places." Hey, maybe that's why Trump's so batty. He's around alien tech all the time. Ever tried that on for size? Alright, next up, one has to ask, do aliens rule the world? Look, I've already talked about possible aliens in the White House. It's not that much of a stretch to guess that maybe part of the royal family might be of alien descent. May the former Queen of England absolutely rest in peace, but honest to goodness, I don't think anybody lives that long without having some sort of secret. So if you look closely at the video in question, particularly at the Queen's eyes, something is just a little off. Being in power for 70 years without slipping up in one's disguise is a feat I absolutely commend her for. But at the same time, after that faux pas, she retreated more and more from public events. probably to protect her identity. Look, I'm not the only one with this theory, and I know it. There's quite the popular theory out there that Draconian Martians are a superior race of being, and over time they've traveled to Earth and either organically become our leaders or replace those already in charge to lead up to their end goal, whatever it may be. And before somebody says that's far-fetched, similar tales exist all throughout history, dating back to fairies and changelings, which is honestly something I also believe in. And I'm guessing you do too, or else you wouldn't be here. Alrighty folks, so I'm gonna end today's list with what might be a controversial take, so bear with me here. What if I told you that on a remote ranch in Oaxaca, Mexico, a farmer named Roman Ochoa claims to have witnessed something really nuts? So let's just picture this right now. It's not like all the other footage today. This mysterious creature, neither fully man nor beast, seemingly caught in the act. So Roman is the owner of the Ojo de Agua Ranch and has a tale that kind of is a mixture of mythology, werewolf folklore, but you've got a bit of a dash of extraterrestrial intrigue, which is why it fit this list. He swears by the existence of naguals, beings believed to have the ability to transform into their spirit animals. In this case though, it's not just a run-of-the-mill shapeshifting scenario. It's a man morphing into a werewolf, and happening right on his ranch. Now according to Roman, the man in question didn't stumble upon this extraordinary power by accident. And it's not a curse, not a magical mishap. The werewolf abilities were bestowed upon this individual by an alien. Yeah, so an extraterrestrial entity allegedly granted the power of metamorphosis to this unsuspecting earthling, ergo, alien shapeshifter. Now let's talk about the evidence. We do have a picture capturing the transformation in progress. The creature in question, halfway between man and werewolf, stands on all fours, paws eerily resembling human feet. Imagine being inches away from such a spectacle, and despite the proximity, Roman insists that the ranch workers remained unharmed. How's that for a close encounter? Look, the implications are staggering. After everything I've talked about today, shape-shifting aliens granting extraordinary powers to humans in our world? Are we witnessing the intersection of ancient mythologies and extraterrestrial inventions? Who knows? Maybe I should go visit that ranch. Members of the Mutual UFO Network have made claims about alien bases found underwater off of the coast of Alaska, based on eyewitnesses' reports from decades ago. So UFOologists and UFO enthusiasts have alleged facilities dedicated to extraterrestrials elsewhere in the world, including Dr. Stephen Greer's claim that a mountain in South Korea is hiding a massive UFO. Meanwhile though, the researchers have focused on the mysterious activities in Alaska, which have suggested that the deep waters could possibly be the hiding spot of aliens. Yes, I get it. To a lot of people they're like, okay, come on, that's an obvious answer. Alaska, not a lot of people there. But there's researchers that believe there was truth to the claims about alien crafts that were allegedly seen by the crew members of a ship back in 1945. MUFON members strongly suggest that ETs have bases in the ocean thanks to the reports of the UFO movement over water witnessed by local residents. The UFO investigators say that they have studied reports of the UFO sightings from the 1940s which were never made public. We're kicking off today with a recent incident, one that happened on June 23rd of 2016. Let's call our brave witness Mike, just so I have an easy moniker to avoid getting confused by. Mike and his son visited Silver Dollar City, which is an amusement park in Branson, Missouri. These guys were having a great time, despite Mike suffering from occasional pain in his upper left arm. For context, and this is important folks, 2 days before he suffered a fall at work and sustained a deep 5-inch laceration, which required 24 stitches. Yowza! But this trip had been pre-planned, and he was a good dad, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna keep my promise to my son and just grin and bear it. Junior wanted to ride the Wildfire, which is a roller coaster-like contraption where they strap folks in because you're traveling upside down. Mike wasn't super thrilled about it, but it's like, well, my little offspring is a little too young to go on by himself, I gotta go with them. Off we go. So the duo was strapped in their seats, and Mike's arm was aching something terrible because of the drop-down shoulder harness. So the ride starts, and minus the obvious glaring pain, everything's normal. But after going into the second loop, Mike went totally blank. He only remembers coming out of a corkscrew and leveling out at the end of the ride. Sure, he felt okay, but he was super confused. At first he was like, did I faint? But his son didn't notice anything. It wasn't like, hey dad, you fainted, or hey dad, you conked out. The guys got out of their seats, walked off the ride, and as they were continuing to walk towards their next attraction, Mike was like, wait a minute, like I feel too good. Like I'm not feeling anything in my arm. So he reached inside his shirt, touched his upper left arm, the injured one, and there was no bandage. There was no stitches, no wound. Mike was so shocked that he almost fell to his knees, which not something you want to do in the middle of a theme park. The guys stayed there for another half an hour and then they headed off. After Mike dropped off his son, he made a beeline home and into the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and there was no laceration, no mark whatsoever. What the HE double hockey sticks happened? So Monday he went to the doctor and he was like, hey, what's going on? So while Mike had received the stitches in the hospital, his doctor did have the admitting report from the emergency room physician, and it was right there, in writing. The doctor was like, and Mike could tell that he was wondering what was going on. What could he say? Mike was just like, Here's what happened to the park. The doctor was like, well, stay well, I guess. Now his supervisor at work saw the wound, and now the supervisor was like, yo, what's going on? Like, this is the guy who had to file the accident report, and he didn't know what to do, and Mike didn't know what to tell him. Mike's also mentioned that he used to suffer from a lot of back pain, and that's also not kicking around anymore. Maybe I should go on that roller coaster. Moving on, Daphne Fletcher claims that in the summer of 2010, when she was living in Washington, she owned a lot of businesses in the region that she was living in, including a ranch, a store, she had a restaurant and a cafe, a post office, and a gas station. But after the recession, she's like, I'm gonna sell everything and move to Southern California. So on this particular night, she had just finished packing everything up with her buddy Bill. Like, she'd even picked up the check from the escrow office. She was ready to go. She was super excited, and her and Bill were like, we're gonna have one last bonfire since you can't pack that up. And then they were gonna go over to his mother's house after to hang out since they didn't have any furniture left. The duo had just put out the fire, they were going around the house, they got to the driveway, and then they spotted what they called an astronomically large spaceship just hovering above them in the trees. As a matter of fact, there was actually two ships. One was apparently the biggest thing you could possibly imagine in the sky, and it was blocking the whole sky. Daphne and Bill found themselves frozen from the sight, only able to utter, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I could go on, but you get the point. Daphne could only barely see a little bit on either side, so it was definitely longer than it was wide, and it was facing south. But it was just huge! There was no way something that big could just be in the sky and not make any noise, there was no disturbances, and there was just a little triangle right next to it. And it was just, they're just frozen, they're just hanging out. These UFOs just stayed there planted for at least a minute. So the two humans, they were like, okay, we're looking at this, and then all of a sudden, poof, it was gone. Just nothing. Zilch. Nada. Daphne and Bill were both just flabbergasted, but they weren't afraid, and they wound up running late to Bill's mom's place. They thought they were going to get there at about 11, but it was 12:30 by the time they got there, which was kind of late, and Bill was just sort of out of sorts, which, who wouldn't be? You just saw UFOs. He told the story like a million times, and eventually the mom was like, okay, I believe you, I get it. Daphne and Bill didn't think much of it until years later when Daphne underwent hypnotic regression on a couple of occasions, and that's when she uncovered an additional encounter in her youth, as well as more details about this one. So what did she learn? Well, it's a little spotty. But during all that missing time, she and Bill were actually taken up into the spaceship by some vaguely gray humanoid aliens. We all know the type. She claims that she remembers that Bill was laid down on a gurney-like thing and wheeled into a room while she walked willingly with them through a hall. She believes that she was then shown little ones who were possibly her hybrid offspring. So going back to the experience before, apparently she'd interacted with the beings previously and had been shown young folks, but she didn't elaborate too much. She also mentioned that she had a couple of other UFO sightings. Gosh, I think she's just a magnet for UFOs and for those gray aliens. Let her be! Time to go back in time a little bit to an incident in New York from 1977. Sam lived in a remote area off of Trap Rock that bordered the Central Hudson power plant property along the river. It was October 29th and she was at her boyfriend's home, alone, in the evening, with her young son. She had been told by her boyfriend, never turn the lights out. Outside, inside, just leave at least something on. This was a ranch house that had heating vents in the ceilings. Apparently it's quite important. She really emphasized it. Respect that. So she heard a loud rumbling noise, and it was one that she had heard before, and it was so strong that it shook the vents out of place in the ceiling. See? Those are relevant. She was a little tired of climbing up to fix them up. It was 7 o'clock, her son was asleep, she tried turning on the TV and it was all scrambled. So then she's hearing like these rumbling, these humming noises. What does she do? She's like, okay, night, turns out all the lights. Which, you're not supposed to do that. You're gonna see why. She went to the front bedroom window, opened it, and kneeled down to look out towards the river. She heard what sounded like a horse whinnying in the distance, and could see flashing lights close to the ground in a circular pattern just beyond the woods. Closer to the house, she saw her boyfriend's pets shaking from fright. And if there's something I know, it's that animals are super duper susceptible to the supernatural. Sam looked up in the sky and saw an aerial display of lights. One large main flying light, which was surrounded by smaller ones. It looked like the smaller flying things were protecting the bigger ones. Other than that, the sky was clear. And she thought she could just watch all their darting or moving around and whatever, it's entertaining. Maybe it's a drone show. She even pinched herself to make sure she was seeing what she was seeing. Like, she was like, okay, enough. Then a glowing object left the formation and started moving closer and closer and closer to Sam. And you know how you have a couple of reactions when you're fearing things? Well, she froze. This dome, a red glowing thing, just hovered outside of her window area to the height of the roof eave. She was staring into a red fireball that she said was just, it was there. And she couldn't move, she couldn't speak, she could only think. She said in her thoughts, like, I'm not gonna watch anymore, we're good. And then there was a flash of red light and Sam was gone. When she found herself back around 30 minutes later, she had a stiff neck and was dealing with some internal redness that shouldn't be happening. Trust me, you can feel it. Her boyfriend came home and told her the truth. He told her that he had seen these alien beings and was actually doing things for them by the Hudson River. They would tell him to collect things and he would bring these things to them. He described the creatures as 4 foot high with slanted red eyes. They were subhuman and they knew everything he was thinking and doing. The next morning, the local paper had a lot of stories about people calling the police and reporting sightings and their animals going crazy. Central Hudson Electric would not allow any investigators on this property. So the next day, Sam visited a doctor who informed her that she had a perforated uterus. Now, during an exam a couple of months later, it was like, okay, you're not pregnant, but what's going on? And that's not the first I've heard about this. If you're unclear on what I'm saying, go back through some of our older videos. It's pretty wild. She got off easy, trust me. Alrighty, Adam lives in 10 Mile, Tennessee, and one night about 4 months ago, he was sleeping on a couch when he dreamed he was levitated into a spaceship, where he was laid on a cold metal slab and everything went dark. He woke up and he had a fever and he had some burn holes in his right rib cage. The burns looked like cigarette burns, but there was like 7 arranged like an X with 2 at the top and 2 on the sides that were perfectly symmetrical. After this, he was really sick for about 2 weeks and then out of sorts for a couple of months, suffering from a wide range of health issues. So it seems like they took something from his mind, infected him with something, and left the poor guy in quite a state. Alrighty everybody, we're gonna end today with Loretta in Oregon, who claimed she was abducted in 1967. Poor thing was driving to Portland after working all day in Denver and had pulled over at a rest stop to, well, take a nap, when she heard like a diesel vehicle pull up next to her. Trust me, you know what it sounds like. A little while later, she heard another one, but this time it seemed like it was on top of her, and all she could do was just cover her head in terror. It was like, what is going on out there? There was a pressure on her head and a greenish white light hit her feet and shocked the heck out of her. And that's when she got, well, beamed up for lack of a better word. She remembers feeling like she was seated on something, but she couldn't open her eyes out of fear. I don't blame her. She could feel the acceleration of going straight up, but couldn't feel any surroundings and can't remember any smells. After that, well, she blacked out. I don't blame her. She woke up the next morning in her car and had to pull round, sticky items off her skin, especially around her abdomen. Well, that's not helping the alien impregnation theory. There was a round unknown stuck to her stomach that didn't have legs and it was the size of a jawbreaker. And when she crushed it where it was attached to her skin, redness poured out. Well, her mouth felt like it was full of gravel and she had a mysterious hole in a tooth that just couldn't be explained by science. No thank you, absolutely not. I don't want to be abducted anytime soon. Admiral Richard E. Bird allegedly wrote about his encounter with a lost civilization during his expedition to the North and South Poles. According to his secret entry, he met the ancient alien race underground and witnessed a huge base with animals and plants previously thought to have been extinct. He's talking like even mammoth-like creatures. Allegedly, the bird plane was commandeered mid-air and was landed for him by people who lived in the center of the earth, who intercepted his plane with saucer-shaped aircrafts. Upon landing, he was met by emissaries of a civilization that many folks assume to be the mythical Agartha, which we'll talk about more about in a moment. These alleged Agarthans expressed their concern about humanity's use of atomic weapons during the big mass extinction event that we all know about, and they employed Bird as their ambassador to return to the US government and relay their opinions. So the general was actually ordered to remain silent on what he had witnessed during this Arctic assignment by the government. He wrote this in his diary on March 11th of 1947, saying he had just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon and stated fully his discovery and his message from the master. So everything was duly recorded and the president was advised, but then he was detained for like 7 hours, or 6 hours, 39 minutes to be exact. He was being interviewed very severely by top security forces and a medical team, and he described it as an ordeal. He was then placed under strict control via the national security provisions of the United States of America. And he wrote this in all caps. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned on the behalf of humanity. Incredible. I am reminded that I am a military man and I must obey orders. But like, okay folks, once again, government cover-ups? Not good. So according to the official record, Antarctica was discovered in 1820, but it took almost 100 years for modern explorers to reach there. Surely it can't be true that nobody before had known about this part of our planet. Christopher Columbus used ancient maps for navigation throughout his expeditions, but I don't think it was a coincidence that he only traveled to other continents. There are several ancient world maps made hundreds of years ago that clearly show Antarctica in its enormous form. Turkish Admiral Piri Reis's 1500 map baffled researchers because, like, you can see Antarctica, but there's no ice. And he claimed to have used earlier sources and compiled them into one map. Well, American author Charles Hapgood began studying this specific map in the middle of the 20th century and published a book, Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings. I think it was published in 1966. And he claimed this and other maps support a theory of a global exploration by a pre-classical undiscovered civilization. So he supported this with an analysis of the mathematics of ancient maps and of their accuracy, which he said surpassed instrumentation available at the time of the map's drafting. So he argued that owing to the map being assembled from components, the Caribbean section was rotated nearly 90 degrees from the top of the South America. So he's like, maybe this was either from copying a polar projection or to fit in the space available by hinging the map at that location and giving it an alternate north, of which other examples are known in maps of that era. But, and this is where we all come in today, ancient astronaut theorists are very curious about the pyramid-like structure near the Shackleton Mountain range on the icy continent. Satellite images show the pyramid has 4 steep sides, kind of like the Great Pyramids of Giza. Well, in the popular TV show Ancient Aliens, author David Childress said it could be the oldest pyramid on Earth built by the ancient civilization. He said if the gigantic pyramid in Antarctica is an artificial structure, it would probably be the oldest pyramid on the planet. And in fact, it might be the master pyramid that all other pyramids on the planet Earth were designed to look like. So one theory suggests that in the distant past, Antarctica was a habitable place, and there lived one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. We're talking pre-Sumerian, pre-ancient Egyptian, and it possibly could be the lost civilization of Atlantis. Because there's a lot of folks that believe that the existence of Atlantis is associated with Antarctica and associated with ancient aliens. Look, Plato was the first person to write about the lost city, and he described it as an island situated far in the Atlantic Ocean. So it could have been there. In 1959, a Soviet expedition based on the Mirny Polar Station in Antarctica sent a group of 8 researchers deep into the uncharted continent, and the group's goal was to reach the South Magnetic Pole. Well, only 3 people returned from that group that was dispatched, and according to the official version, the cause of the tragedy was severe frost, a storm, all-terrain vehicle engine failure. But later on, Soviet polar explorer Yuri Kushinov, in a conversation with a reporter, was like, no. I was one of the people that returned from the trip to the magnetic pole, and according to him, the group was attacked by luminous flying objects resembling discs, and an attempt to photograph an anomalous phenomenon kinda ended poorly, because the cameras were destroyed by a beam sent from a flying object. Folks who tried to repel the attack using hunting rifles were also struck by the rays from that object and passed away. So the reporter didn't have time to publish the collected materials because Yuri passed away really fast after he talked about this. In 1970, the United States Environmental Science Service Administration, or ESSA, to save me some time here, published satellite photos of the North Pole, where one photo showed a perfectly rounded hole over the Arctic. And that's kind of only added more to a lot of beliefs of underground civilizations that go back to ancient aliens. Once again, that whole Agartha theory that they're here, they've been here, they're just hanging out where we don't go. Russian cosmonaut Ivan Wagner, who now works on the ISS, posted a video with orbiting UFOs on his Twitter account back in 2020. So in the video, the unidentified objects appear, quickly fly from left to right, and disappear after a couple of seconds. So it looks like maybe there's several UFOs lined up in a straight line, or one object with several shining lights on its body. And if it's one object, then it's cigar-shaped, which matches a lot of other UFOs we've seen. They've been repeatedly spotted in the sky, and they're considered an alien base from which smaller ships fly out. Wagner tweeted, "At 9 to 12 seconds, 5 objects appear, flying alongside with the same distance. What do you think? Meteors, satellites, or..." I'm gonna go with the "or" here, folks. A groundbreaking initiative has been spearheaded by Dr. Stephen M. Greer, a renowned founder of the Disclosure Project and a respected authority on UFO and UAP phenomena. Dr. Greer made an exceptional presentation in June of 2023 at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., unveiling compelling evidence having to do with covert and unauthorized black budget projects associated with UFO operations. So for over 33 years, he's been working as a volunteer on the Disclosure Project, and the last time he conducted an event was back in 2001, where 22 individuals from different government sectors joined in. So in this recent 3-hour-long event, Dr. Greer presented his investigations on these secret programs. It was joined by 6 very courageous whistleblowers who shared very compelling information about covert operations. In all of this, I think the most compelling testimony came from one Eric Heckner, a former Raytheon contractor who spent a year at the South Pole. He began his testimony by explaining his role as a tradesman and firefighter, and emphasized that the technology there, particularly the ice cube neutrino detector, serves purposes beyond what is publicly disclosed. So he was selected to go down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica in 2010, and he spent an entire year by the Raytheon Polar Services as an employee of a third-party contractor for the National Science Foundation. And he presented documentation indicating that there are over 5,000 embedded digital optical modules in the ice that can transmit at like over 2,000 volts each. And this revelation kind of suggests that the neutrino detector possesses capabilities far beyond passive listening, effectively functioning as a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform. Its size and power suggested it could be used for deep space or quantum communications with spacecrafts traveling throughout our solar system and beyond. Hecker revealed to a Dr. Michelle Sala in an interview that each DOM, for short, has the capacity to transmit so much that it makes it the world's largest phased array transmitter. So then this all led us to Dr. Greer because it aligns with the concepts he presents regarding directed energy weapons and communication devices for ships traveling faster than the speed of light. So this detector serves as a communication device for intergalactic communication. And as somebody who experienced this firsthand, he affirms that something's happening and he's out there to raise awareness and provide a path towards uncovering the truth. He further elaborated on the various functions of the South Pole Station. Allegedly, it works as an air traffic control station for off-world craft, including extraterrestrial and human-made vehicles that emit neutrinos. So the facility enables faster than light communications, which is kind of crucial for interstellar travel. He referenced Gary McKinnon's past hacking of NASA, revealing the existence of an off-world fleet, and the South Pole Station is instrumental in facilitating such communications.